One Mic Show, and we are also on TikTok. So follow us on TikTok. We're also taking in live calls tonight, 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. So please save that number. And then later tonight, we'll review the calendar of President Ruto's upcoming trip to the U.S., who's on official invite by the White House. Now, the One Mic Show will dispatch a representative following an official invitation. So we will be represented there. You want to stay tuned to find out who will be out there, like next to President Ruto when he comes to Atlanta, when he comes to Washington, D.C. Stay tuned for that. Now, please start dropping comments below on questions you'd like our person who will be there to ask President Ruto. Now, of course, bila kusahau, tunapokea mziki toka DJ wetu machachari mleta habari DJ Omosh Fire, na tutadunda kule viwanjani na Mika Och jezi yake nambari 7 mgogoni akituletea habari za michezo. Na moja kwa moja toka Kilimanjaro Studios ni mimi mtangazaji na mwanahabari wako mpendwa Ali Badawi. Kwetu wananiita mteule na wengine mniite mjukuu yule wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, and I'm Masai by choice. Asichagui, sikagui na sibagui. Karibuni tena.
Now, let's talk politics.
Now, this hour we'll be talking of newly proposed tax laws in Kenya that may impact the diaspora. Will Kenyans revert to under-the-mattress banking, with KRA being authorized to pry through personal data? In sports, we'll talk rugby, we'll talk the WNBA, and athletics as Omanyala gets ready for the Atlanta street race this weekend, which is tomorrow, basically. So people in Atlanta, please get ready. Now, drop a comment below and tell us where you're tuned in from, and at Highlight, at Everyone, at Top Fans, at whatever you have. Please tag all your friends to get them in. And I'm your host and producer, Ali Badawi. It is Friday the 17th of May, and we are streaming live from Kilimanjaro Studios outside Washington, D.C. Please remember to follow the One Mic Show on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and now TikTok. And on panel with me tonight is Mr. One Mic Kamakawa. Our sports anchor Mika Och is out tonight. Our resident DJ Omosh Fire was already live on the decks. And not forgetting super producer Mubelwa Bandio. Now, to get us started, I can see people already tuned in here. Washeke kama kawaida is in the building. Washeke, karibu sana to the One Mic Show. I can see James Pius Wamui. Welcome to the One Mic Show.
Kaiser Soze ako plantation.
Let us know what you think. Kaiser Soze is at the plantation. He's working tonight. Yeah, so hopefully,
hasara jenga inchi.
Yeah, so hopefully you'll be listening to us while working. And I can see, Mary Wairimu Masharia is also tuned in. Please tell us where you're tuned in from. Are you tuned in from the DMV? You tuned in from Baltimore? Are you tuned in from Atlanta, Georgia? Are you tuned in from Nairobi, Kenya? Where are you tuned in from? Please let us know so that we can get started now. But before we get started tonight, maybe I just want to come to DJ Omosh Fire real quick. This week was election week in Maryland, rather primary elections week. So it was very interesting. It was in Maryland, I think North Carolina, West Virginia, and I believe Nebraska. I don't know whether we have anyone tuned in from Nebraska, but those are the places that had primaries this week. Omosh, did you get a chance to vote?
Yeah, actually I did early voting.
Okay. So you are ahead of the curve. You are ahead of the teacher.
Yes.
Okay. I had plans of doing an early vote, but the problem is I did not look at the dates. I thought I could vote early until a day before the elections. I didn't know the deadline for early voting was a couple of days.
No. It's normally the Sunday before the Tuesday.
Oh, it's a Sunday before the Tuesday. Wow. Okay, that's
actually no. Sorry, it was. So elections was the 14th. It was the week before. That Sunday, the week before.
It was the week before.
It was the week before, yeah. So they stopped on the 9th and elections was on the 14th.
Yeah, because I think...
So it's actually Sunday to Sunday, a weekend, 2 days, something like that.
Yeah, because around the 10th, 11th is when I was preparing myself to go vote early. Then I realized
it was a Sunday.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah,
so I think those are important dates people need to pay attention. And as we approach November, I think it's more important because there are deadlines for voting by mail for people who want to do mail-in ballots for states that allow that. Then there are deadlines for early voting, and I think this is going to be the big thing. I think by the time by election day, typically you'll have in some states even maybe up to 30% of the people who've already voted. They did announce that there's going to be 2 presidential debates. We're going to be talking about that sometime in future in the show. the earliest one is coming in June. So I think they're all getting ahead of themselves. And the other interesting thing is that they kicked RFK to the curb. RFK is not going to be participating in any of those debates.
Oh, really?
Yes, he's not going to be participating in any of those debates. I think that's a gentleman's agreement that Biden and Trump have, just to put this guy away. Because with the I think
so how do you, the candidates, determine who's supposed to show up?
So there's a commission for debates.
Yes.
Which I haven't quite looked at the details, but from what I saw is that I think both candidates circumvented that commission and had an agreement.
So they had a gentleman's agreement that they're like, we're not going to waste our time with this chap.
Yes.
Hakuna haja.
Yes.
Hakuna mali anaenda. So
yes, exactly.
Tuende tukienda.
Yes. And like when we had previous candidates who had high ratings like 1992, Ross Perot.
Correct.
When Bill Clinton won the election, I think he was running against George Bush Sr. Ross Perot got a chance to debate, to be on the debate stage with both Clinton and Bush Sr. So,
but even the last one didn't. Even the guy from New York debate, or am I crazy?
Which guy from New York?
Was that guy running for?
Are you talking about the pizza guy?
The Indian guy.
Or you're talking about Vivek Ramaswamy?
Yeah, wasn't he?
That.
Oh, there were two debates, right? There was a debate of, I guess.
But now we're talking a general election debate. We're not talking about a party debate.
Understood.
Party debates, sometimes they'll have even 20 people on stage.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I still think that it's wrong. If the guy has made it this far, then they need to go ahead with it and stop playing games. But, who am I?
Yeah, I think both of them are just cutting their work because I think, like one unfortunate thing that has happened for RFK is the October 7th. After October 7th, it took over the news. Not many people were paying attention to him like they were before that. So it's one of those I don't want to say, I want to say maybe unfortunate situations, but yeah. Uno Mike, karibu sana ndani ya One Mike Show.
Asante sana man. My fans, Moriega, how are you? By the way, inaonekana hapa Washeke Ndirango says she's from San Antonio, Texas. Wembinyama, baby.
I was trying to figure out what is SATX. I was trying to think hard.
At the SATX.
I was trying to flex my mental muscle.
You couldn't decipher?
No, me,
That's an internal joke.
Oh,
type C, sorry,
yeah.
Type C, na si charger.
Yeah, so I was like, SATX. Hey,
San Antonio, Texas, man.
That's too complicated.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's just write San Antonio.
No.
Yeah.
San Antonio.
Yani,
there could be a city somewhere in maybe Mississippi called San Antonio. Okay. Like there's Lebanon in
Maryland.
Pennsylvania,
like,
Maryland.
Isn't there a Lebanon in Maryland?
Yeah, I think there might be.
I think there's a Lebanon.
Like there's LA, Louisiana.
Exactly. Did you guys know there's a town called Intercourse?
Oh my goodness.
Where?
Pennsylvania.
I've never known about that.
Now you know.
Hold on. It's called what?
Intercourse.
In
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Okay.
And guess which chaps live there mostly? Mormons. I'm not making this stuff up. Look it up.
I am
not looking this. Look, and then the funny part about it is you'll go there and you're behind a horse buggy that even has indicators. Kahos kamewekwa kale zile blinders like this.
Yeah.
And then the buggy itself, if they're turning right, they indicate. The buggy has indicators.
Atiatia.
As in when they're turning right, when the guy's gonna pull that careen over here on the right side, so the horse goes indicate kutoka kale kabagi kake. And then by the way, at hizo bagi saa zingine hata mahosi uwaga zinagongwa.
Ala.
Okay.
I'm telling you, if I had not gone there, I would not tell you about it.
Bro,
because
let
I
me
wouldn't
tell
have
you.
known.
Ali will ask you to verify.
No,
even if you were there.
No,
even if you were there.
Look, Ali has three means of things that can go to the internet that can tell him about Intercourse, Pennsylvania, and who the main residents are there.
Okay, all right.
It's the Mormons.
Well, by the way, Stephen JJ, tukondinos hiyo sijui, mambo ni tukoninda.
Okay.
Eh,
Aya, sawa sawa. So tonight is a very interesting night. You know, there's a couple of conversations we want to have.
yes, sir.
and-
Wagade.
And one of them, and just to get us started, is regarding the diaspora. I mean, of course, this week on the headlines, it's been financial bill. So it's a document that's over 130 pages.
Yes.
And there's
35.
there's some organizations, you know, that have done a very good job in trying to summarize.
KPMG.
KPMG. There's another one called Bowman's that that I'm gonna be quoting, from some of what they're saying, and they've tried to make people understand. Now, basically tonight, what we want to do, outside the emotions of everything, want to figure out if some of these new tax laws will affect the diaspora. We also want to figure out, like if the U.S. Has maybe similar laws, and maybe different states, if different states have similar laws. So the people who are tuned in here, let us know if you have such taxes in your states, because the U.S. is a very interesting taxing jurisdiction. There's a federal government, and then the 50 states are also independent taxing jurisdictions that tax different things. And then we also have other countries in Africa. Is there like precedent, are there other maybe African countries that are imposing these taxes, so that we can figure out if these are unfair taxes or if these are taxes that are being used in other places.
Can I play a clip?
Yes.
Before you start that, because this is a beautiful segue
Okay.
to discuss.
Yes. And before you play that clip, we also want to know the value of public participation.
Yeah.
What exactly is it, and is there any value in public
So
participation?
this particular one is just a genesis before we get into public participation, because I know we are going to talk about that at some point. But
Okay.
for this one, this
Aye.
is the genesis. And to provide context, during the election campaign,
Yeah.
there was lamentations about the previous government and taxation.
Yes.
And the guy who was running to be president had things
Had
to,
something
say
to say.
about the taxes.
Okay.
And
Let's hear.
speaking to Wanjiku
This was before he got elected.
before he got elected.
During campaigns. Let's hear what he had to say.
Usiku na mchana, mimi nataka niwaeleze ya kwamba these people don't understand the damage they are doing to the people and the economy of Kenya. Kwa hii taxes wanaongeza usiku na mchana. Na mimi nataka niwaulize watu wa hapa Manga, tafadhali, mkiona tumesimama hapa mbele yenu, tunawaambia ya kwamba tutengeneze hiyo serikali inakuja ambayo inaelewa lugha ya mwananchi wa kawaida.
Okay, that's Kenyan President William Ruto.
Yes.
That was before the election.
That was before the election.
That was his position.
Yes, and his position was very, very, he was precise.
Okay.
The taxes zinaangamisha mwananchi.
Yeah.
Haya.
But now it becomes a Kayo. We have Washeke Ndirangu here who says that public participation is a scam. How can you give Kenyans just one day to give their views? We are going to talk about that shortly. So want you to
In
stay
what
tuned.
context is she talking about?
No, public participation.
In terms of the finance bill.
In terms of the finance bill, Kenyans were given a very short period.
3
of time.
days.
So the finance bill, the bill is published, and then people are told to give their views
Yes.
within a very short period of time.
And I think something
But isn't there the one that you're supposed to send the email by the 28th?
I think that's the one that she's talking about. By the 28th,
Of this month.
of this month. Well, we're gonna talk about that
public
part of.
participation means there's email, but like, okay, carry on.
Yeah.
There's, I think there's two of them. But anyway, go ahead.
No. I mean, like I know the one where people were making, like practical submissions. But let's
Yes.
say, but let's
this
even
one are
assume.
like they're calling them. I think they're suggestions or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah,
which,
but
which
let's
I don't
assume-
think is public participation, but they're suggestions.
But
or
let's
something like
assume
that.
it's even 2 weeks. Let's assume it's
Yes.
not 3 days. Let's assume it's even 2 weeks. That's
Uh-huh.
still a very short period of time
Yes.
to debate such weighty matters when you drop a 137-page document and expect people to go through the document.
And there's a
within
lot
that
of
short period.
technical lingo in there.
Yes.
Of course.
When you look at it,
But those,
pursuance, what,
those,
KPCD?
those documents are written like that on purpose.
Of course.
For people not to
And
understand.
they also publish them or push them out at the they play with the time, right? Basically, you're not gonna get. So they have a threshold that they're supposed to push out those documents between time X and time Z. They will wait until the last minute to push it out, which means you have less of a time to go through that thing analytically, and hopefully, if somebody has hidden enough stuff in there, you will not catch it until it has become law. And that's the whole point of what these guys who help put those documents are, the aides, blah, 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 whatever, so that even a lawmaker who's sitting over there and going through it would need to have a staff of 3 to go through that particular thing line by line to find out what's actually in there. So these guys, that's why these are games that they play on purpose, so that, the ordinary mwananchi, if you take that document, for one, it's a big document, 130 something pages or 140 pages, a lot to go through, and then when you start going through it, you start seeing lingos of thereof, thereat, wherefore, unbeknownst, you're like, what is the ham sandwich?
What is this guy talking about?
As yes, mech, it's not regular English that Joe Blow would understand. You may need a translator just to get you past point. Because even the way something is written, where they say, okay, so section 4.5, we are taking out this and
replacing this in
with,
subsection 4, whatever.
That. So you're like, okay, so what does the one that you're replacing actually even mean?
Say,
right?
No, what does it say in the first place?
Let alone you don't even know what the one that was being removed is saying.
Yes.
So you see, and this is where I think the role of the member of parliament and local representatives got diminished. Because typically, like even when we go talk to wazes, even when you go talk to your wazes, I don't know about other parts, but like in Coast, members of parliament used to come and actually call barazas and sit with people,
and
tell them this is what's happening.
They used to do that.
Yeah,
they used to do that. They used to do that sitting under a tree or your local boys and girls club or whatever you want to call it. Mostly it was under a tree with those plastic chairs or whatever, or maybe he's sitting nyinyi mumekachini, and they have an actual meeting. The same with the chiefs used to call it.
And that's how people were connected with what was happening. That's no longer happening. Like it's a document is dispatched, and not everybody has access to the internet. Not everybody has the ability to download a 137-page document and just sit there around reading it. But the media has tried to do a good job in trying to break it down.
Yes,
but that's not enough.
But it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work and content for you as a consumer to just come in, take a look at it, or should I say, as somebody who's a voter and would be affected, right? Mm-hmm. For you to go through, either sit through, say, Spice FM or one of those morning shows or something like that, to hear what's going on over here. Yet you are being already taxed at 1.5 on the housing.
People are busy.
So for them, they're like, okay, wait a minute. So you guys are trying to bring the housing levy in via this finance act, but you're already taxing me. Mm-hmm. So how is that making sense? You're saying this thing is not true yet, or it's not in being enacted yet, but the money is coming out of my check. Mm-hmm. So why would I can't do anything about it, because you guys are going to do whatever it is that you want to do. And you're telling me that my vehicle is going to be taxed at a minimum of 5,000 shillings per year, and then up to 100,000 depending upon.
So we're gonna come to all those details. A comment here coming from Mwakisha Mgendi Brai. Karibu sana. Mwakisha says there is nothing like public participation in Kenya. It's political. True, they wait until last meeting to make a decision. I think he meant last minute. But Mwakisha, karibu sana. The one Mike Show, give us your views on what you think about that finance bill. If you've gone through it, please tell us what you think. Now, one of the things that came up that may have an effect on the diaspora, and I want us to have a discussion to see what kind of effect it has, is the increase in money service fees. That's M-Pesa, banks. So the wording, like that I got from the summary that came from Bowman's, one of the organizations that was summarizing this document, it says there will be an increase in excise duty rate on money transfer services. So the bill proposes to increase excise duty from 15% to 20% on fees charged for money transfer services offered by banks, money transfer agencies, and other financial institutions, and cellular phone service providers or payment service providers licensed under the National Payment Systems Act of 2011, and the possible effective date, the proposed effective date for this is the 1st of July 2024.
This in
yes,
2 months.
yes, and some of the implications that were mentioned by Bowman is it will be the increase in the excise rate is likely to result in increased in costs for money transfer services. So
with what from what I'm hearing, you're just basically saying sisi hapa diaspora, not talking about in Kenya. Sisi hapa diaspora, our Sendwaves, our whatever app that we are using, Lemify, Sijui, whatever, I can name all of them. Any one of the mobile apps that we are using to send money, they would be charged more because they're the ones who are registered.
Yes.
Which means they would then now transfer the cost over to us. So what we are supposedly getting in the exchange rate, which is a reduced,
would reduce.
It would increase. So they charge us based upon a certain exchange rate, right?
Yes.
So what they would then now do is either add this fee in, or that exchange rate would be lowered.
It will be lowered.
Yes,
That's what I'm saying. It will be
lower the
lowered,
exchange
right?
rate,
It will be lowered.
Which means
which means you need to send more money. Mtu akikwambia
Yes.
nitumie 100k,
Yes.
you're now sending more dollars to meet that 100k.
correct, because you have to now you're paying the excess tax, which is at 22%.
20%,
from
20%, from 20 to
It was
20%.
15%, now it's
But
being
this is
increased to
local. We don't know how
20%.
we're going to be affected, though. I mean, we don't know if, it's going to be from
But
15
remember,
to 20%.
whoever we use has to
pay that fee.
Yes.
They have to use either they themselves directly are registered, or they use somebody who is registered to do the last leg of passing the money over. And if those fees are going up, then that person is not going to agree to do this job for them without them eating the cost.
Because in addition to that, that is one. So if you send somebody M-Pesa,
Correct.
I send you a Moshe M-Pesa, then you from M-Pesa, you weka into your bank. Unachapwa tax.
No, now you've gone far.
No.
Even money,
No. Yes.
Even money. Yes, there's an excise.
There's an excise tax. If you are to move, let's say, so I send you chums
Correct.
to your
in
M-Pesa.
Kenya. Yes.
Then from your M-Pesa,
Yes.
unaeka Co-op Bank, KCB, whatever.
Understood.
There's
an excise tax.
So you're saying I'm paying both an excise tax as well as paying the fee for SAFCOM to do the transfer, or my bank?
So whatever SAFCOM, whatever charges SAFCOM charges,
Yes.
they will charge you. But
Correct.
anytime money moves from M-Pesa to
Phone.
M-Pesa, or from M-Pesa to bank,
Yes.
there's an excise fee.
So
This
is that fee paid to the Gava, or is paid, or we paid via the provider?
This fee was waived during COVID.
It was during.
Understood.
and
That's
that's
the
why-
one that's come back.
Yes,
Okay.
and that's why people were not familiar with it. But if you go look at your bank statement, or if you go look at your M-Pesa
statement.
statement, there's someone who's paying. Now, I'm not clear who pays at what point, but I always see on my bank accounts,
Unanyoroshwa.
there's always an excise fee, and I've always tried to ask, the people in the bank, because I don't like fees.
So what's
but
an excise fee for those of us, of us who don't understand what excise fee is?
You exercise and then they charge you a fee.
No, an excise fee,
Jagavi kubaf.
I don't know what they call it here in the US, but it's a form of tax.
Okay.
It's a form of tax. We're gonna get the definition, or most find the precise definition for us. But
I'm trying to even look at my M-Pesa statement
yes.
to see if I can.
No, don't worry. Your M-Pesa is okay. That you're gonna check later.
No, I want to see if we can even see the fee on it. So
okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes,
It was
on-
a percentage, because I
on-
remember my sister-in-law at one time was complaining. She's like, sasa, yani nachajiwa kutransfer pesa kutoka M-Pesa kwa bank. Si atafadhali niende nichukue, because like now to withdraw chums
Yeah.
unalipishwa,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Withdraw
Mm-hmm.
unalipishwa, there's a whatever the fee is. So she was saying, atafadhali I go withdraw, then I walk to the bank and deposit directly.
So I had always complained about M-Pesa fees. whenever I go to Kenya, I always have a stash of cash because I did my calculation on those M-Pesa fees. And you know, with M-Pesa, the more the money moves, let's say like I have, what's the max you can send on M-Pesa? Is it
140?
It's
140K. It's 140,000. That's the max you can have. I think at one point
In your wallet? No.
In
It's
your
gone
wallet.
up. It's gone up.
I think
to
it's gone up.
370.
It's
I
gone
think
up.
it's gone
to
up.
3
It's gone up.
something.
So let's call it
But I think-
300. So
Because
but-
at one point the most you could send was 70K.
yes. So
Right?
let's say
I
but
don't
I
know.
think let's say if the max you can send is 140,
Yes.
if I send to you 140, there's a fee that gets charged for me to send you the 140.
Right.
Now, kwa hiyo 140, let's say uko na madeni za watu watatu, maybe 20. You send each one of them 20.
There's a fee for that.
There's a fee for
For
that.
each.
So from that original 140, there's still more fees that are coming in.
And the-
Huo mse wa 20 akianza kutumia na 5k hapa, 3k hapa, there's fees. So by the end of it, Safaricom from that first 140k has made tons of money. The more the money moves, the more, you know, like Safco makes money, and the more excise taxes also the government.
And you know, like
makes.
you're talking about, like now from here, you're looking, Sijui, you're sending some money, 12 shillings, you're sending, depending on the amount of money,
Yeah.
15 shillings or 27 shillings or whatever, you're like, you're going to pay it. But that is how these guys make money.
Yes, and that's why I tell people, you know, like when you do a calculation of how much fees you've been paying annually, I'm telling you, you will get a heart attack. And that's the reason why when I go to Kenya, I'm very shameless. I am that guy who will unleash cash. I mean, I try not to walk around with a lot of cash on me, you know, for safety reasons. But then, you know, like in places where I can pay cash, mi nalipa cash, you know, because there's a convenience, of course. There's some places where you'll be forced to use Paybill or M-Pesa. That's fine. You know, like kama
It's
mambo
not
ya-
fine because-
mambo ya kulipa fees, for example.
Yeah.
I think that's a big
that
amount.
one- that
so
one-
so
that's a big
that's
amount.
understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So transaction fees, that's a big deal. Do we have do we have any kinds of transaction fees out here in the US? You know, because sometimes we talk about Kenya too much. Whenever we transact, is there any transaction fees?
I think if you go to a teller, I think there's a transaction. There's
When was the last
there's-
time you were charged a
there's
transaction
a
fee?
fee.
The only transaction fees that are there are for your bank account. And if you
don't,
if
there's
you have a
something weird
checkbook-
about the transaction fees.
so they give you incentives. Like now,
So
for
well,
example,
okay, well,
electronic
using an
mail,
ATM has transaction fee if you're not if
A
you're
member of
using
that.
If
you're
you
not
use
a
an
member
ATM for another bank.
for another bank, yes,
Yeah.
that has a transaction fee.
But there are
And
certain
then,
banks, if you're in a credit union or whatever, they tell you there are certain banks you can withdraw
Yeah.
for free. So
But,
like,
but me, I'm trying to
sending,
understand these fees.
Zamosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sending electronic transfers, right? Those have a fee, right? Or
What,
that's not
what do you
cons-
mean by an electronic transfer, like Zelle or Cash App?
If you're sending, say, bank to bank, or if you're sending,
If you write a check to someone,
if I want to send money from here to say
or
Kenya,
a wire.
or
A wire transfer,
Yes, a wire
yes,
transfer has
right?
fees, but I'm talking
That's,
about day-to-day transaction. A wire is not an everyday
they-
transaction.
There's some fees. I know that there was something different between using the ATM and going into the bank, and I don't know if they got rid of those. There was a time when they used to charge.
They used
a
to have
fee.
these special accounts where you only would have ATM access.
Correct. Like,
yeah.
and if you had more than, then they would charge you a fee, right?
Yeah, but those ones are no more. I was in banking, and I'll tell you something. There's very few fees that are for day-to-day transactions
Yeah.
that American banks charge.
so it may reduce because at the time they used to lima us.
Overdraft
Back in the
fees.
day,
Overdraft
not
fees.
even
Because
that,
there
like,
were overdraft fees is still there, but that's I don't I would
course.
not say that's a transaction fee. Right?
That's what me. I'm talking about day-to-day transactions.
no,
meaning
no,
when
no.
you're having a transaction, you're actually getting
No,
charged, right?
no.
Like if you're doing a withdrawal,
Yeah.
for instance,
so
would
that
you
they
be
would-
charged to do a withdrawal?
No, there's no fee for
so,
that.
but what happens? No.
Yeah. So those are the fees now that people in Kenya are paying. So like for those who go back to Kenya, when you go open a bank account, you get surprised that there's a fee on this and there's a fee on that. And then when you look at your statement, you're seeing an excise tax. A couple of comments here coming in. Let me see. Oh wow, we're already getting answers on some of the questions that we were asking. So
But there, I think start with Washeke says
let
public
me
partition
start
is a
with
scam.
Mwakisha says
Mgendi.
Mwakisha Mgendi says exchange rate itakuwa juu diaspora. Omosh amesema true. Nanti Modiambo says it was about time this was coming, but a toothless divided diaspora wouldn't do anything about it. I agree with you, Tim. And then Stephen JJ says excise taxes are usually paid by businesses, increasing prices to consumers directly.
Indirectly.
Indirectly. And then let me see. Trish says excise is a tax that relates to a quantity, not a value, as opposed to the value-added tax, which concerns the value of goods or service.
Hapo bado nimefloat but ni sawa.
Yes, so Washeke anasema Wayafi, and then Babahanya. You're supposed to be in the studio, but we'll have that discussion.
Yeah. Then you guys are gonna chase him. He won't even.
Yes,
start
No.
coming.
Yes, we won't give him a break.
No.
No
In his
breaks.
defense,
Yeah.
in his defense,
What?
kuna first lady. First lady is the one that needs to be dealt with.
Okay.
That one we'll deal with behind
behind
your
the
tent.
tent.
Boss,
Behind
isn't
the
that your
tent.
in-law? You're the one who should be Uko. You are trying to make her an outlaw the way you're talking.
No, she can never be an outlaw.
Okay.
But
now-
then you might want to slow down your own.
Now,
Ongea outside camera.
and then Washeke says there are very few bank transaction fees in the US. Babahanya was saying Safaricom makes most of the money on phone loans, which I have
Which you've talked about.
talked about.
Fuliza.
Boss, that
Now,
is the worst.
The one thing
that thing.
now the one
Why,
thing that I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
do, like knowing the condition, some of the condition that people are living in Kenya, it's very difficult for me to tell someone who's
Don't-
being evicted.
Yeah.
Don't
Don't
take that
Fuliza.
loan.
Yeah.
100.
And imagine Fuliza yake ni hiyo
Yeah.
ndo inatakikana.
But these loans
3.5.
But
annualized, they're like between, I want to say 120 and 150%. It is a very exorbitant. It's worse than what payday loans.
I
used
don't
to
think the problem is getting them. The problem is the fees. The problem is how you. It's like to be. It's like getting money, getting a loan from a loan shark.
be. Yes, and-
Because getting a loan is not the problem. You can get a loan and then finance pole pole, but this ones it's like it's so Yani inaendanga hivi
But you know,
alafu
this is-
inapanda juu.
this is more compounded than a loan shark.
True.
Hii ya Safaricom,
it's
Fuliza. It's more compounded than a loan shark, because a loan shark sometimes atakwambia okay, chukua. I mean, loan sharks also have variations, but when you think about payday loans in the US, the ones that got banned by Obama's administration, they used to be ukoma 37-40% annualized. But sasa where they get you on this Safaricom ones, ni wanakuambia, they give you a number like 10%, but that 10% is due within 30 days. So that's not an annualized number.
No. That one is my.
So that means if you take 10K, and by the end of the 30 days you owe 11K. You have to pay 11K. So if you don't pay that 11K, let's say like you're in a bad situation, so it's another 10% for the next 30 days. So now 11K, you add 10% of 11K. It
That's
adds up to
11.
around 12,100. If you keep it for a year, that will come to around 24,000. So you're talking about you took 10K and now you owe 24,000. That's about 140% annual percentage rate.
I don't think people are keeping it for that long, but you're right.
But still,
most people who have Fuliza go maybe a month, but you see, they almost use it as a rotating. What is it? What would
A
I
line
call
of
a
credit.
rotating line of credit, because they know that, and you know the way that Fuliza is worked, it's such that at a certain point, if you don't pay it, even your phone won't work. Yani, there's a way these nyangaos,
There's a way they'll get you.
They hold you,
Yeah.
to the point where somebody will be like, hey, you know what? I have Fuliza, and my Fuliza is like, let's say, 25 handle. But they've already figured your 25 handle, and maybe within a week, they'll pay it back, right? But whatever money is, and also the way it's set up is that whatever money comes into your M-Pesa, it gets removed until the whole entire amount of Fuliza is sorted out. So basically, at some point, you can't use your M-Pesa until you have basically sorted this out. Now, in some cases, folks wale majanjes, they're like, okay, I have Fuliza here of 25 handle. Don't send to me here because I have Fuliza. Send to this other phone. So you use somebody else's phone and you get from there, blah, blah, blah. But eventually, you're going to have to deal with this mambo ya isimu yako. And God forbid you did not get those phones. You know, they have phones you can get on on credit.
Uh-huh.
So you actually pay every month. You pay on this phone. So the phone might cost 23,000, but every month you're paying maybe 5 SOC or 6 SOC or whatever it is, up till the point when you get to that 23K. Now, if you don't pay that 500, then that phone of yours gets turned off. So you have the phone physically, but huwezi tumia because the network is not accepting it until ulipe your payment.
Bro.
I'm telling you, there are folks who, and Safcom has this thing down. They also have the one of the TV, where you get the TV with solar, and it comes with a solar charger. There's a TV that goes with it, and you pay on a monthly basis, and it also comes with programming. So if you don't pay, then guess what? None of these things are working. Zinafinywa zote. And then on top of that, it would the charge. There's not even the solar thing that allow that now we won't even charge.
Now these are things that people need to.
I'm telling you, if you follow up on the things that and stuff, they have a plethora.
No, I remember.
of
I remember a time when people in Kenya would kind of like look down upon or laugh at people in the diaspora that nyinyi watu wa credit too.
Correct.
But now Kenya has become with this Fuliza, it has become a full credit society.
Yes.
They used to be credit, like ile kwenda kwa kiosk kuomba, but now.
But
all
hiyo ya
kinds of
kiosk
people.
ilikuwa unamaliza at the end of the month.
Unamaliza at the end of
kitabu
the
alafu
month. Yeah.
zile deni when unalipwa sasa ile kitabu nakuja
Yes.
anatoa kitabu ya fresh for the next month.
Yeah, wacha nisome a few comments here that have been coming in. Mwakisha says factors that influence currency exchange rates include inflation, interest rates, government debt, public political stability, economic recession, terms of trade, current account deficit, confidence and speculation that affects everything. Where hapo economics lesson tunapatiwa. And then Washeke says Kenyans don't realize that interest rate is so high, they just here borrow 1,000 and pay back 1,200. And then Washeke says they don't understand APR. Stephen JJ anasema you receive M-Pesa wanakunyonga. Stephen JJ, it seems like you have experience. Tell us more about it. And then Lawrence was saying,
that story can come with Malakul mouth. I don't think you want that story.
Wacha tupewe.
And then Babahanya Lawrence Kenya says, is in Fuliza 1% interest daily in balance? That's something
I think that Fuliza, yes, I think he's right.
So that's something that we're gonna have a conversation
and that daily
about.
balance, it's daily. It's computed daily.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Now,
which means it's a lot at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Because when you calculate, like when you do your calculations, if it's 1% daily,
yes,
bro.
And this is part of
bro,
the
think
reason.
about it.
Yes, and this is
that
part
is
of the reason.
Magogodanio.
So when you see this, when you talk about a lived experience, this is why sisi Waislamu tumekatazwa riba, because with interest, and I keep telling people, any kind of interest, there's always someone on another side being screwed. You may be the beneficiary of interest, but there's always someone on the other side that's being screwed. That's the reason why, like sasa kama, like even now, what now Muslim kids are being taught in madrasa now in Kenya,
and we had
vitu
this
kama hizi
conversation.
hapa. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so vitu kama hizi hapa, you wanna avoid them. You wanna avoid, so with us, you wanna avoid charging it, and you also wanna avoid taking it. Because when it comes to the time for taking, it's good, but at some point, and we know that too well even here in the US, with credit cards na nini, these things can screw you up big time at some point. And then Mwakisha says Kenya is a capitalist country. Number to call, 202-683-4570, press *5 to speak. We are talking about how the new proposed taxes in Kenya might be affecting your pocketbooks. So we've already established that the increase in service fees from 15% to 20% for money transactions is going to affect, the rate that we get. So it's going to cost you more to send 100,000 shillings. Like whatever it used to cost you, you now have to send more dollars to be able to make up that amount of money that you want to send, because we'll possibly get a lower rate. Now the other issue here is KRA's exemption to data protection. Now the finance bill proposes to amend the Data Protection Act to exempt processing of personal data from the requirements under the Data Protection Act if the disclosure is necessary for the assessment, enforcement, or collection of any tax duty under a written tax law. Let me repeat that. The bill proposes to amend the Data Protection Act to exempt processing of personal data from the requirements under the Data Protection Act if the disclosure is necessary for the assessment, enforcement, or collection of any tax or duty under a written tax law, and they want this to be effective on the 1st of July 2024. And one of the implications is that the provision is intended to support the collection by businesses of personal data relating to consumers for verification purposes by the Kenya Revenue Authority. So
this, in other words, dependent to Sipende, will be granting KRA an adulterated access
yes,
to your data.
to your M-Pesa transactions,
Whatever it is,
To-
any telecommunications,
Yes.
M-Pesa.
So yes,
whatever
they
it
don't
is.
need a subpoena.
No, they just
No.
go and they say, Omosh, na tunataka, Omosh fire,
so-
Omosh.
So is this?
so as
is
the
this,
law
is
as
this
is
it's a
currently,
proposal.
yes,
they need a
a
court
sub-
order
a court order
to be
okay.
able to do that.
So and this is both for KRA or any agency basically that
Yes.
that would want to get access to your
yes,
M-Pesa or
data is private.
M-Pesa or phone records.
Yes, that's
right?
considered private data.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then that means that if this is also allowed, it could also open up for quote unquote abuse on the law enforcement side.
Of course.
Ish. Kwani mko kwaya?
No, but it's what do you mean? Because over here, KPMG, there whatever says
Mhm.
the implication. The proposed seeks to allow disclosure of personal data
Yes.
for assessment,
Mhm.
enforcement,
Mhm.
like you said, or collection of taxes. This would allow entities who hold individuals' data, e.g., telecom companies, to share
Yes.
with KRA upon request. Any entity that holds or has your information,
Mhm.
any entity
Yes.
in the 254,
Yes.
KRA wanasema tunataka mambo ya Ali.
So they can go to the bank, right?
Aha.
Ah.
Yes.
This will be open for abuse.
Which
So if you have-
and when I'm saying law enforcement, I'm saying that you have a bad player who has a law enforcement badge or has law enforcement behind his
Or
bad
anyone
play.
who comes and wants to assume the authority of being KRA, because we know people who are imposters.
Who are
Yes.
fake, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even if I have a plan, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna work with Ali in whichever bank. I'm like, yo,
Yes.
I'll come in. I have authority. Nataka kuwa na Ali. Ali ndio mkubwa, ni manager. Niko na authority ya kwenda kuangalia mambo ya Omosh.
Yes.
How are you gonna stop that?
So then now you know what Omosh actually has sitting in the bank.
I have everything, your details, your
Yes.
email, your phone number, maybe even your
Then-
KRA
then-
pin, whatever.
Then you send Jaxo and Nani to come and wait for you uko
Yes.
in a Subaru,
Uh-huh.
and then they bundle you in the boot,
Like a nonsense. Utadu.
and they tell you give us, and you say I don't have. Then they remove the statement for you.
You know, I'm hoping Okiya Omtata
Oi.
is drafting something to take this to court, because this right here,
Hey, man,
this
it
is out of
has-
bounds.
It can.
this is completely
it
out
can
of bounds.
open a lot of cans of worms.
Yes, this is totally out of bounds. So I hope there's someone who is preparing something.
But
the only
unfortunately-
thing right now is that I don't think you can take it to court because it's not law yet.
No.
It's,
But you see
it's
that-
still a bill.
But here's the problem, and I think somebody mentioned this earlier, and then we're still gonna talk about it. But here's the problem. Last year there was a brouhaha about the 2023 finance bill, and guess what? It was still passed.
Now, what, you know, and this is where, you know, like those issues we're talking about, what's the value of public participation?
And somebody asked that.
As well as also the Azimio leg of, you know, the legislature had said them they're blocking it. They said us we are voting against it, but as we saw with Unfor 23, which had issues then,
It had
right?
major issues, especially there was the VAT for
So
for PESA.
so
for
the
alcohol.
problem I think that I see overall with this.
And by the way, we're not we're not experts. As we're talking
Yeah.
as consumers.
Yes, the problem I see overall with this thing called public participation, it's kind of like I have a full loaf of bread that I've been told to share with you, and then nikate 3/4, then I bring a quarter, then I tell you now here's a quarter loaf. I've been told to share this quarter with you, so we kata an eighth, no niachi an eighth. When you go with the whole 3/4. So in talk about public participation, they already have a document published. And that's the starting point. That is problematic.
And if you remember, I don't know if you guys watched the interview, but you remember Sam Kituk was with that guy, Keenan.
Not K9, he's called Bilokero.
No. There was Bilo.
Yeah.
There was somebody. There was another one, Keenan guy. There was another.
Oh,
Keenan guy
yeah.
or whatever.
I can't remember his
Right?
name, yes. But
Yeah,
a very
Keenan
smart
guy.
guy, yeah.
But he was being asked because some mentioned that there were standing orders. I can't remember with whom they were with. I can't remember the names, but one I think was a tax expert, and another guy,
The
an
tax
MP
expert
from
is
Madare,
the one I'm talking about.
and then there was a guy from Madare, but there was a guy, a member of parliament.
Yeah.
And there were standing orders that said that this thing had been reduced, participation or discussion from 5 days to 3 days. So someone was asking simply, why has it been reduced to 3 days? That was one question. He could not answer. The other
Yeah.
thing is, why introduce it now? Why not introduce it in April
To give people time.
to give people time?
No,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
two.
yes, because they normally enforce after the budget thing has
but
been read,
apart-
right?
but
For the
ap-
new year.
but
or
The new
even
year.
before creating the document,
Yes.
let the public contribute towards the creation of that document. Because once you already have a document, you already have an anchor. You know, like when you've gone to auctions, you know, like I once bought a car in an auction. There was a time I was going through a lot. I bought a car in an
And that
auction.
car survived you 3 years.
Yeah, it survived me 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
Yeah, it was 3 years. So I appreciate, and I bought it for $700.
I remember the Chrysler.
Yeah, the Chrysler. Yeah, it's Chrysler Cyrus. I don't think they even make those.
Sebring.
anymore. No, it wasn't Sebring. It was Cyrus.
It was Cyrus.
Yeah, it was Cyrus.
That's pre-Sebring.
That's pre-Sebring.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ilikupatia miaka tatu,
Yeah,
bro.
nipatia miaka tatu. So what the tactics that the government is using ni kama mtu wa mnada, an auction. So what happens in an auction? Let's say, for example, this iPad. Let's say like the market value of this iPad. Let's say is $500. The market value is $500. So what expert auctioneers do, because kuna watu wengi wamekuja hapo kubai, when they start and they speak very fast, they'll start with a very high number, $10,000. So now that's a number. Of course,
Benchmark has been set.
Of course, you're not gonna pay $10,000 for an iPad, but that number has been set in your mind. You know, that number has been set in your mind. So now you're not thinking $500 anymore. You're thinking from $10,000. So by the time he's come down, imefika 2K, and someone buys it for 2K, and on you know what? This thing, it came down from 10K to 2K. I got a good deal. But then the reality is the market value of this thing is 5 SOC, and you paid 4 times. So that's what these guys are doing. You know, they realize that this is a punitive tax. People are going to complain. So let's suggest a ridiculous number. Let's say we are going to tax bread at 16%. And then people will cry. Then will come back like heroes and then say there was public participation and people have complained. So now we've reduced it to 8%. And that's exactly what will happen. You know, like that's exactly what will happen. Quite a number of comments coming in.
Boss, here the comments here we have. Washeke Ndirango says there is capitalism and then there's predatory lending, and this is a response to I think Mwakisha Mgendi. Ida, karibu sana. Is it Ada? Eva. That's the one who gives you trouble. Huh?
Who?
Ida. Are there any audio translated copies or even a copy for dummies? Hey.
That's
watch.
a good question.
That's a very good question. But there isn't.
That's a very good question.
I thought
I
thought we found something, right?
But you see,
What
what
but
we have is
what we found is not for dummies. You know, it's
It
still the document is 137. This one's produced by KPMG. They're simplified, by Bowman's, but it's still 35 pages.
And
It's
remember,
40 pages.
Pablo is the one who shared. He said, by the way, I found something that is condensed and is supposed to be reader friendly.
Mwananchi friendly.
Mwananchi friendly, supposedly.
Now, when you're talking about Mwananchi friendly, you're supposed to think about that guy who's on the street, not someone who's working in an office sitting behind a computer.
That's another one.
Yeah. So
Do they have this finance bill available, say at Huduma Center or wherever?
Now, that's a question.
that's a good question.
Like
for
if you
someone
don't
who's
have
in Kenya.
if you don't have internet and you don't have a smartphone,
Now, we don't
and
know.
that can PDF the thing and pull it down.
I think-
but
think
now,
there's
but now
people
you're gonna go to Huduma Center and start reading
No,
a
I'm
137
just saying, you see,
page document.
it's that thing, the same thing of threshold of
Public participation.
voting.
Yeah.
The way we were being pulled along, and told it's coming, then it's taken to Rwanda, it's taken to Uganda,
Pole pole.
it's taken to TZ.
Okay.
Then they
But as long
decide-
as the process started.
Aye, boss.
Aya,
it's
turudi kwa
coming.
comments, turudi kwa
Washeke
comments.
says also expect more committee folks to be calling you. Data protection.
Okay.
And I think that's into that. Stephen JJ, I have my Safaricom line. So hata niko na Hustler Fund. I have a project back home. So it's easier for me to send money to myself. Then I pay the guys back home with M-Pesa. It helps with accounting. Lakini, na hii mambo ya Zakayo, hiyo ni ungori. Trishi says, is there any real serious enforcement of privacy in Jamhuri?
They're supposed to be. We have an act now.
On
how
paper,
we have an act
There's
now.
even
how,
a data commissioner,
yes,
I think. Yeah.
there-
there is a data
and
commissioner.
so how it,
And
how indeed,
she has been actually really trying.
yeah, how indeed it's enforced.
That's
I
another
don't know.
story.
We're not on the ground.
Mhm.
So
we don't know.
unless there's somebody who's listening who is in on that side of the house, or maybe is in medical type, because that's data.
Because that's another story.
That's data. That's
no,
data
medical-
with that's data with privacy, right?
Medical is another story.
Yes, that's
Because there's data of
that's
your personal,
yeah,
your
that's
PIN, whatever.
correct.
Then there's medical.
Yeah,
Medical
so like
is a
let's
different
so
story.
tuseme,
Ingine.
I
Yeah.
guess a banker probably would be the better one, right? For this data protection, no?
But you see, banker is just protecting. You could say it's
No,
just
no,
your
data
credit
is
pin,
everywhere.
Data is
Actually,
everywhere.
Data is
but-
everywhere. Data is everywhere.
Yeah, but
almost.
where? But okay, but you
But
see,
there's no-
so when you're doing medical, you're right. There is privacy for that, right? There's the PHI
Because here there's
type
here
stuff,
there's
right?
here there's
Yeah, we
HIPAA.
have-
I
yes.
think you guys are thinking American.
No. I'm trying to tell you
We're-
that there's HIPAA.
So who would we go to now to find out if these guys even enforce? Are we together?
So there's the data. There's a data commissioner. There's an office.
Understood.
But now the question.
That's the person who's in the office. Who is the actual user? Ule mtu yuko affected kama wewe.
Yeah.
Like who? Like
And-
a person who, or a company, or somebody who would be actually protected.
So I'm not understanding your question.
Okay. So we have the entity. We
Yeah.
have the law.
Yeah.
Right? How do we know that it's actually being used?
So the thing is, the law, it's kind of like if you accuse someone has stolen from you, there's a law against theft. So you have to go to court and prove that he stole from you. So it's kind of one of those things where, like, if data has been stolen from you and you don't know it's been stolen, you don't know what you don't know. You need to have proof that your data has been stolen, because there's actually a law that protects an authorized use of your data.
So to say, you went and swiped your card at my establishment, and then I went and I took that information and I sold it to some bad players who went and did something, and now you can prove that it's me who sold it.
Yeah.
Then that's where you would now have
But you
grounds.
see now,
have
but you see, we
evidence.
need to interrogate that
you would
because
now have grounds to go back.
You'd have grounds to go to court
and go to court, and because there's a law
and
that's
get
there.
restitution, because there's a law
Okay.
that exists.
But we still need to interrogate it, because we need to know for a fact that on the ground, because on paper we're not really
Understood.
sure
and
what
that's
we have.
what I was trying to get at. I was
No,
like,
no,
how
but
do
yeah,
we
yeah.
how do we know that those guys
And
are
I think
doing
that
what they're
goes
supposed
to
do?
Trishi's question. And then Lauren says, with all the money loot all is collecting by now, we should be seeing or feeling changes unless the money is not going to the intended purpose. There is a dangerous precedent. As it is, bank employees steal from dormant accounts of seniors and diasporans. Mwakisha says, how do you do business? It should be legal. It should be legal. You protect yourself. Sole proprietorship is considered a good option for starting a small business without complexities of larger corporate structures. The following advantages of a sole proprietorship include income taxes. A sole proprietor is taxed at their personal level. But here's the thing. I think, isn't there a difference between being a sole proprietor here in America vis-a-vis in 254?
So the taxing philosophy in America is very different from the taxing philosophy in Kenya.
Yes.
Because in Kenya, I think it's kind of, let's hunt those taxes from the source. You know, like whatever, like we're going to be talking about the taxation of cars, let's get it from the insurance company at source. But in America, and that's why the filing tax process here is very lengthy, because they'll take your overall income, and then there's certain aspects that will make your taxable income lower, and then they will have a final bill. But our tax in Kenya is kind of piecemeal. If you do this, we'll take that. If you do this, we'll take that. So it's a bit different over here.
Hey, you guys, these comments are coming hot and heavy.
Let me read YouTube.
Yes,
Karibu Wanjiri, Moranga's finest. Sema, she's laughing at us and
Somebody's
saying,
been in Githeri.
yes. So she's saying, in a country where you buy printing paper for school, no one is printing finance bill at Huduma Center. Then she also says that if you look at European laws on GDPR, even American laws are child's play.
America is very unprotected when it comes to data, you know, so especially compared to what she's talking about, GDPR. That's a EU law protecting people in the EU, the data there. Whatever Google can do here, or Facebook, or all these other big organizations, they cannot do that in Europe. When you go to Europe, like, you will notice that even the ads that you see on your phone are much less than what you get when you're out here.
Pablo says, I need to double check this issue of KRA accessing data, but I believe KRA can access data under a provision of the Tax Procedures Act. What I believe this provision is attempting to do is align KRA to access to data in line with the Data Privacy Act. Please, we want to get that.
No, also what he's saying is that they can do it now, but they're now trying to align it to the Data Protection Act so that they are not in violation.
So right now,
that's what he's trying to say.
So what happened is that they tried to do it, and I think they lost a couple of cases in court. Meaning they're allowed to do it, but you have to have permission to do it. You have to get a court order to do it. So now what they're trying to do is to kind of like circumvent the Data Privacy Act by creating another law that exempts them from following the Data Privacy Act.
And going to get a court order. So then they get carte blanche.
Yeah, so they'll get carte blanche. They will not need a court order.
Yeah,
so they will not need a court order. If they feel like Omosh is not paying taxes, they can,
feel is relative.
Feel
is relative.
Yeah, Lawrence is asking a good question. I know. Trish says here, lack accessibility and equity. Stephen JJ was called twice by some scammers, but they were calling him on his US line. Yeah, wake up. Is there a tax expenditure breakdown for 2023? Please, somebody share. Lawrence, anachaza.
He said a tax expenditure breakdown?
Yes, for 2023.
What does he mean by a tax expenditure?
Let him explain.
A tax expenditure breakdown is basically the taxes that were collected and how they were spent. Pretty much.
For the Kenya government?
Yes.
I would believe
no, these documents are available.
2023.
I think, and I could be wrong, I don't even think that we are there yet. I don't think that we are there yet.
No, these documents actually are there.
Okay. What I'm trying to say is that I think it's there, but I don't think they have published it. That's what I'm trying to say. Meaning that, see, these guys normally do their comments. They look at things a certain way, like 2021, 2022, 2022, 20. You know what I'm saying?
No, interestingly enough,
yes,
the government publishes a lot of documents. The problem is that people don't read them.
That's the problem.
Yeah, people don't read them. But these documents, because this is public information. They're required. There's some information they're required to publish, not necessarily disseminate it, but they're required to publish for anyone. And even under the, I don't know whether to call it. I don't know that we have a Freedom of Information Act in Kenya, like in the United States. but
know.
there's certain
I
kinds
think
of
the
information
press, I
that
think
people
there's one
can
for
go
the
request.
press. I don't know how the press do it, but I think they have something for the press.
Yeah, so yeah, and then there's a couple of comments here that I think you missed out.
No,
Mike.
no, they have, because like I'm reading and then we
Okay.
discuss and then they just
Yeah.
come in.
Yeah.
Like over here.
Eva was saying this proposed bill sounds like the handbook manuscript for them 40 thieves. Yeah. And then Stephen JJ says I was called twice. My line will be suspended.
That's the one I was just talking about.
Okay, now
There's a
he's
lack of
calling
accessibility and
my
equity.
US number. Jambazi, I told him to suspend your Sijali. And then let me see. There was Babahanya asking about the 2023 expenditure.
I read all those.
It's here.
and then
3.22 trillion.
Yeah, so I told you, like these things are they're available. They're all hidden behind a Google search. And then Roberto Bagayoko is talking about privacy officers. Pablo says matters in relation to data protection and privacy are legal. And then Washek is saying, Ali Omosh is asking if I suspect a bank or hospital has leaked my data or had experienced a breach, what are my remedies? Yeah, and I think the remedy at this point is to go to court. The other thing that we need to do, we need to also look deeply into the Data Protection Act to see what options it gives you outside court, because a court is a place of last resort. So we want to figure out if there's options that the act gives you outside
And
court.
remember, if you are in the diaspora,
Yeah.
Mama ni ngumu. Over here, Trish says, I have called home many times to discuss my folks' health with doctors, and they just spill it all without even confirming that I am allowed to get that info, or I am even verifying that I am who I say I am. There's violations of privacy happening all day long back home.
Does Kenya have the equivalent of
I
HIPAA?
don't know if
No, I don't think so.
I think they
that's a legal
have.
issue.
And even if they do,
Yeah.
an example like this is happening because
they do violate it big time. I
No,
think
but
they have a
but
privacy one.
but
They
is
have a
there-
privacy.
But is there one specific for medical data?
They
we need
ha-
to figure that
I
out.
No, we
I-
need.
they-
No, we
I don't know
don't
about
know.
medical
No, we
data.
need to know.
I don't know about
We need to
medical
figure that
data,
out,
but I know
yeah.
they have privacy.
But I'll say this. I was
Privacy
listening,
and medical data are two different things.
I was listening to Spice, and they had a lady on, and what she was talking about was having something data protection, but something separate for health.
Yes,
because
health-
they
like
don't
they- like they do
because
here.
they don't have for health.
Here we do.
Because on this
Right?
other one,
We
you're
have-
talking about you have KRA pin, your name, those are whatever. But matters health,
Correct.
like age, sex,
Yeah,
whatever.
and that's where the HIPAA law comes in with the private healthcare
They don't-
information,
I
the
don't
PHI,
think they do. And,
right?
And she was
So, yeah.
advocating. I have to. I'll try and figure out her name or whatever. But it's in today's show on Spice FM. That lady was saying that there's nothing specific pertaining to health.
Okay, all right.
So there is no equivalent of HIPAA.
No, there isn't.
And that's why we have to be careful. Sometimes we speak
Let us
American
just say
too much.
let us just say that we are not aware
Yeah.
if there's any.
Yeah, and if there's someone who
HIPAA.
knows if there's a law specifically
Please.
for health, please
Yes.
let us know.
Yes.
Because
But we don't
sometimes-
know.
Sometimes we speak American too much when this thing, because here I see Washeke saying doctors and nurses discuss patients all over in the village. If you go to a local hospital, by the end of the day, everyone will know your ailment.
Oshonaga shukari.
Yeah. Now, Mwakisha says there's no data protection in Kenya. So there's a data protection law, but Mwakisha is saying there's no
On
data
paper there
protection
is,
in
because
Kenya.
put it this way, there. You go to any establishment, any facility. There's a sign-in book. What are you being asked to sign in?
Your ID number.
Your
That's
ID number,
quite-
your
that
phone
thing-
number,
that
your
is
date
even-
of birth.
is even read back to you.
Yes. And it's a book that is several pages.
Is thick.
It's very thick.
Like Karatasi brand.
Very thick.
That thing is good for 4 years.
Yes. So you're like, it is easy. Over there, somebody will just come, nipatie easy number.
Okay. Aya, sawa. Let's take is there
so-
comments coming from YouTube?
I'm just want to answer Babahanya.
Okay.
National Treasury of Kenya has an actual PDF. It's a 44-page PDF
Yes.
that has the 2023 expenditure.
Google.
To give
The 2023 tax expenditure report.
to give GOK credit, they publish. Like most of the things, anything that I've searched for, be it legal, be it financial, there's documents published. It's just that people don't read them. Now, this is where I think we may benefit from non-profit media. Like non-profit media, like PBS or NPR, where they can take such a complicated 44-page document and give it in a very simple, get some researchers or people who know how to read it and just give a simplified version, because there's a habit that sometimes, and I used to be in this habit myself, of asking, mbona hawakuisoma? How do you expect mama mboga ama mtu wa boda boda who's spending like 12 hours of his day trying to make an income go read a 44-page document,
Hustle.
or go read a 100-page document? That's an unrealistic expectation. It's kind of like when we're talking about the floods last week, where government is expecting, because we announced it on TV and on radio, someone who's living in the ghetto who's being affected by the floods, we expect them to know because
you mean the deputy government spokesperson?
Yes. So those are the kinds of things that we're talking about.
Idiot.
And then I think Pablo is telling Mwakisha there's actually one, the Data Protection Act of 2019. I think Mwakisha was saying there's no data protection. I don't think he was saying there's no data protection.
We have
No,
the
but
act,
Pablo is
yes.
talking about the Digital Health
Or
Act.
the Digital Health Act.
Yes, that
Okay,
was enacted in 2023.
Okay, very
That one
interesting.
needs to be
So we need
interrogated.
we need to read it, interrogate it, and
just to
find
know,
out what
because
it says. Yeah.
we're not experts, but they just want to know.
Yes, that would be good to know. Pablo, asante sana for schooling us on that aspect. And then Trish says it's all about enforcement, and I'm not convinced that anything privacy related, financial, health, or otherwise is enforced. I do think there's some enforcement. It's also
Ukiwa na pesa.
I also think we look at things from an American perspective, which is why there's certain things that we will not appreciate. I sometimes try to compare Kenya with our peers, with other African countries, and I'll be honest, like we are very advanced. The one thing that's killing Kenyan, so much is the corruption part. But like when it comes to availability of information, availability of laws, and even the enforcement is not where it's supposed to be. But we're in a much better place than many African countries.
Okay,
Even the fact that we are sitting here having this discussion.
my brother.
Yeah.
Okay, sawa. I was listening. I think President Ruto was addressing, I think he in Harvard. I'm not sure exactly where he was,
It was in Kenya.
but he was addressing,
He
It was
Kenya.
Harvard students.
Harvard
students.
students went to
Kenya.
see him in State House.
and he was talking about, he was comparing that Kenya is not taxed as high as France. At the end of his term, he wants the tax to be at 22%,
GDP.
right? But I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, France, they tax this high, or Finland or Denmark or whatever. But we can see what
Things they do.
the money does.
Where the money is going. Yeah.
Without even seeing.
And before you
Yeah.
comment, I've some people who had gone to go and tour Europe, and somebody was having some health concerns in Germany. Knock knock knock, wakakuja wakaangaliwa, uko sawa, na wakaenda. Taxes at work.
No.
So you're taxing all this much, but you're saying that you're trying to compare us to a first world country, and saying that we are taxed, I think, at what, 14%. There's a number that he gave, but there are countries that are doing better than us, first world, whatever, 22. But we can see what happens with that over here.
It's
Bro.
not even a matter of seeing. It's a fact that a lot of these countries that have high taxes, like Afro-Jamaican can tell us, Canada, for example, they're taxed very highly. But, like there's free education. Canada, I think free
They
education
have free
goes up to
insurance as
college. They have free
Oh,
health care.
yes.
They don't have insurance. They have free health care.
Yes.
They have free health care.
yes.
They
But
don't
is-
have insurance.
But
When
see,
you
Israel has
get
got
sick,
Yeah, as
they go to hospital.
as
Israel
does
has-
the UK.
Israel has got
Yes.
free healthcare and free education, right?
So a number a number of those
Israelis.
countries, a number of those countries have free education, free healthcare. So those
Supported by our taxes that we pay, yet we can't afford to.
so those are just some very horrible comparisons that are being made.
That's what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't compare. Like you tax all this, but pesa zile una collect mwenyewe.
Yeah. So I think like
They want to go and refurbish his former presidents when he was when he was deputy president. It's only 20 years old, but they're calling for. I'm sure you saw the list.
yes.
Okay,
But
sorry, go
anyway, Trishi is saying that's a double standard tax like the West, but public resources are wanting. Where's the balance? So
there isn't.
problematic here. So we still have quite a bit more to talk about as
Yes,
far as taxes,
sorry.
but I want us to take a quick brief sports break. People who are in Atlanta, Georgia, DJ Mosh Fire. Tell us,
By the way,
yeah, talk to us about what's gonna be happening in Atlanta this weekend.
Omanyala.
ati who?
Omanyala.
What about Omanyala?
So there's, I think it's an annual Adidas
Street race.
race. I think it's, I think they do what, 60 meters? Is it? I
Is
think
it
they do.
60 meters? It's not a
It's
full
not
100 meters.
I don't think it's a full 100, if I remember correctly. And somebody can, correct me if I'm wrong. Chief Louis, hopefully you're listening. But last year,
Wanapikia
Omanyala,
Manyala ugali huyo. I don't
Last
trust him.
last year,
Nambuzi.
Omanyala came and ran the race in Atlanta. I think he was what, third or second?
Was Justin Gatlin in the race last year?
I can't remember, but I know it's sponsored by Adidas, who is one of his sponsors.
Okay.
Or one of his main sponsors. So I think it's basically probably sounds at the rate things are looking, it looks like this is a yearly thing for him. So this is the second year in a row that he's coming. The race is in Atlanta. It's going to be tomorrow at 4 p.m. in I think Centennial Park. Is it? I think it's supposed to be Centennial Park.
Okay.
Watu Atlanta wanajua pale Centennial Park is. I don't know who the other people who are going to be in it, but I do know that Omanyala is in town, and I think from there then he goes to Oregon. I think for
this is the Diamond League.
yes,
Yes.
the Diamond
And the
League.
Diamond League, of course, it will be a lot of other Kenyans who will be there
Correct.
participating.
Because I
in-
think there are some events where I'm not sure if Kenya has fully selected. I think they had left like what are those sports called? They had left like one person, like let's say if it's 3,000 meters or 20 or
Yeah.
3,500 meters or whatever steeplechase, right? They have like two people, but they're supposed to have three, and then the third spot is like a wild card.
yeah.
So these how you do in the diamond races. The better you do, or if you finish good, then you would qualify, quote unquote, for Paris
Okay.
as that third person who is the wild card. So if guys have been keeping up with the Diamond League races, I think we had some in where was it over
It
there?
was Doha, Qatar, where there were so many
Yes,
Kenyans.
correct.
Yeah.
And so if you have been keeping track of the Diamond League, those Diamond League things, I know in Kenya, especially like for some of these distances that we are normally good at, 5,000 meters, 10,000 meters, and I think only marathon they had selected, which Kiptoom's spot, we haven't heard anything about who's getting that spot. Right?
No. The final
Have they-
selections are out there.
Did they
I just don't have the list, but
Are
the
you
final
sure they
selection.
selected again?
Yes,
Because they
yes.
had already selected prior to him passing.
The final selection for the lineup for the men's and women's, it's
Marathon.
already out. I
Okay.
know Sharon Lokedi missed out on the women's, which is very disappointing because she's done very well. I don't have the list right in front of me, but the selection, the full selection has been made for the Olympic team. So unless something happens, they usually name some reserves in case something happens to the one who's participating. Then they get replaced by X. But yeah, that's where we currently are. And then of course there was that crowd in Doha, Qatar, which is a big deal. Which I think right now the interesting thing that I'm seeing
Yes.
that's happening is that now people in the US are starting to awaken to the potential of track and field, and Kenyans actually attending these events. We love rugby. Rugby will always have a special place in the hearts of Kenyans in the diaspora, but then we have a very big missed opportunity with this.
Because we can double dip, my friend.
Yeah.
We can do the rugby.
Alias
gonna
stand
talk
corrected.
about?
It's 100 meters.
It's
a-
100
it's 100
meters.
We can do the
Stand
rugby.
corrected.
Yeah.
We can also do the track and field.
And we always win.
Yes.
We always win in the track. Kenya, there will always be a Kenyan winner. In the
Somewhere.
track,
Kuna
in the
mtu hapo, kuna
marathons.
mu- yes.
Yeah. Rugby, like
We'll
we
discuss
try.
rugby because right
Yeah.
now we are in a precarious, from my understanding from the rugby aficionados, Malituko,
Yes.
it's a lot.
Yes,
but we'll
and we're
discuss
going to
that.
talk about rugby later on
Yes.
in the hour. Now, Omosh, have you found the list of Kina Omanyala and where they'll be running?
So it's the Atlanta City Games, which is basically it's the Adidas Atlanta City Games, and this is interesting. They have both youth as well as so like men's, women's, and it's supposed to be, from what I'm seeing here, I had said Centennial. It's actually Piedmont Park, the Meadow Piedmont Park, 1320 Monroe Drive in northeast Atlanta, Georgia. And the events start from for, if you want to, for the adults, from 3:45 through to 7:30, and they have different events. They have long jump, they have 100 meters, 110 meters for both men and women. Then they have high school girls. They have the men's final, high school boys, 110 meters, and so on and so forth. So they have, like the high school or youth, they'll do their races earlier on, and then they come to do like their finals mixed in within the finals or within the heats of the men's and women's.
Okay. All right. So if you're in Atlanta, Georgia this weekend, make sure
Tomorrow.
you go check this out. This will
tomorrow.
be a
If
very
you,
interesting event.
if you want to see your Manyala run, you probably want to be in place by about 4:30, because the first men's heat is gonna be in 100 meters is 5:15,
Okay.
and then the second one is 5:20. I don't know which one he's gonna be in.
All right. Good. Yeah. So
Actually, let's see. He's gonna be in heat 1.
okay.
I see his name here, and I'm trying to see if I can see anybody here. Trey Cunningham and Ronnie Baker from the US team. Then there's a guy from Jamaica as well in there, and then there's a Nigerian guy. This guy I haven't heard of.
I think those are South African.
Udodi Owunzurike.
yeah.
Akani
Akane
Simbine.
Simbine. That's
Akane Simbine
that's
is in,
Omanyala's
Yes,
competition. right
Akane
there.
Simbine is in here. But I think Trey Cunningham is not a joke in 100 meters.
Well, we'll find out tomorrow.
Mbivu na mbichi.
Correct.
Yeah.
So he's in the first heat.
Okay.
Omanyala is in the first heat.
Okay. All right. We'll find out tomorrow, and then we also are gonna have Kenyans who will be in Eugene, Oregon Memorial Weekend. Different distances, like from 800 all the way up, all those distances that Kenyans run. So that's something that you also want to check out, the Prefontaine Classic. Now, very interesting, next year, this Prefontaine Classic is going to be on July 4th weekend. So that is something
That's interesting.
yes, that's something that we need to deeply think about, because I've already seen some interest being generated on even the marathon events. People are asking us questions about. Of course, we had attended Boston back in April. We have Chicago coming up in October. We have New York coming up in November, and now some interest is actually being generated and being garnered. So very interesting stuff that will be happening. And then, of course, later on in the hour, we're going to talk about rugby. But right now, I want to go back to these punitive taxes that Kenyans are being charged. That was just a quick sports break to give people, a breather from this discussion. But then there's also taxation of income derived from treasuries. This is purchasing of bonds. This is something that's very popular, that's been marketed to diaspora, and unambota pata a certain percentage rate, very popular option for marketing to diaspora.
Kwanza Lawrence, umenunua bonds. Hebu tuambie.
Now, the bill proposes to subject to tax the interest income by resident persons from all listed bonds, notes, and other similar securities used to raise funds for infrastructure and other social services, commonly referred to as infrastructure bonds. Accordingly, 5% withholding tax shall be applicable on the payment of such interest to resident persons. However, the interest earned from infrastructure bonds listed prior to this proposal coming into force shall continue to be exempt from tax. In addition, no withholding tax shall apply on such interest paid to non-resident persons. So basically what this means is that I think these infrastructure bonds, part of the appeal was that they were tax-free. But now it seems like on the interest that you make, there's a 5% withholding. So I don't know whether it's taxed right away every year or if it's taxed after you've, when you withdraw the money.
When is it effective?
The effective date of this one, I don't have the
I think it's
effective
July
date.
1st. I think
Yeah.
most of these things are July 1st.
Most of them are
if
July
I'm not
1st.
wrong, but I could be wrong, but okay.
Yeah. So that's another big thing. Then there's also other bonds that are called green bonds. It says the bill proposes to subject tax to the income accruing from all listed bonds, notes, or other similar securities used to raise funds for infrastructure projects and assets defined under the green bond standards and guidelines. However, the interest earned from green bonds listed before 1st July 2024 will continue to be exempt from tax. So basically, if you have any kind of bonds in Kenya, after July 1st, whatever you earn from them will start getting taxed. Personally,
But I thought that's interesting. I thought the whole point of bonds was the bonds were helping the gava, or are they talking about are they talking about government bonds or all bonds?
no. So this bonds, I think they're coming. These are bonds coming from the government, the infrastructure bonds.
Yes, but if I am helping you, why are you then now turning around and taxing me on the interest of me helping you?
No, you give them a loan.
That's why I said that. No, but that's why
I
I,
know, it
say that
doesn't
I'm
make
helping
sense.
you, right?
It doesn't
Because
make
without
sense.
okay, so when you float those bonds out there, I will say I'd rather take my money elsewhere where I wouldn't get taxed. Because you're telling me that the minute that I come in and you're giving me this interest for which I am giving you loan, you're now going to turn around again and tell me, oh, by the way, you now need to pay me X based
but
upon
think about
the
it.
income I've made.
Think about it. Even in America, if you get any kind of interest, be it from a bank account or from bonds, it will be taxed, but it will be taxed as regular income.
Okay. And I could be wrong.
Yeah.
We am going back to these are government bonds we're talking about. We're not talking
Yes.
about playing the market, right?
No, government bonds get taxed even in America.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's
It doesn't make sense. I know. I agree with you.
I think it's asinine.
I agree with you. It doesn't
right?
make sense.
So
But it's taxed as regular income because interest from bonds, like when you're filing taxes. So like in America, they're not going to tax it directly, but when you're filing taxes, when you're answering those questions, if you're using TurboTax or whatever software, they will ask you, if you have assets like bonds.
correct.
So whatever income you make from those bonds, the government will tax it. But in this case, the Kenyan bonds, they already have a set percentage. They don't care about your income. So let's say like you have a low income here.
Yes.
If you're within the standard deduction, then you won't get, those bonds will not get taxed. And I think these are the things that people need
But
to...
those are the finer details that are not being implemented, where somebody's saying, okay, yeah, I know in America they're taxing, so even us less tax. Okay, so how are they breaking down this taxing? How is this taxation being occurring, right?
But I think income...
Because they're also looking, they weigh the factors. There's a weighted scale on this. This one seems like we're declaring it, and this is what it is, and you'll give us whatever we feel you should give us.
Yeah, I mean, now when you start taxing the way they're taxing, it's going to discourage some people from buying the bonds,
Some
especially institutional investors.
Ali, people didn't buy bonds the last time around. They failed on the short-term bonds.
Yeah.
The guys refused to buy them. They had to pretty much pull them back. They lost money on those bonds, right? So now you're gonna come back and tell Jamas, okay, we're gonna float these bonds out here because we want you guys to give us a loan so we can operate, and we guarantee we'll pay you X amount within time X time Y for you to get your money back, right?
You know,
it's gonna bring problems in my opinion, and I think that they would be the losers. And here's the thing. You're coming from a nation where people have not been taxed on diddly squat to now where you want to tax them on even what they pull out of their pocket. And you have to find a way or a balance of easing this in so that folks understand that being taxed is not, it's part of living in today's world, right? Because you need the taxes to do and operate and do things. But part of the issue we have is even with the taxing, in as much as you want to get it to whatever, 22%, 88%, it doesn't matter, you still don't do anything that the person who's paying the taxes can see. There's nothing tangible, right? We don't have because we're talking about the infrastructure bonds and all of those sorts of things. We don't see those services coming back down on the ground. But yet we see, folks, rolling around with taxpayers' money, wearing, $500,000 watches. There's a problem with that type of optics. Whether you used your own chums or you didn't, I'm paying for you, paying taxes, and you're sitting around telling me that you want to renovate a home that was renovated within the last 4 years for 600 million.
Yeah.
So there's a problem with the optics behind that, right?
100%.
And when it's broken down and you look at the stuff and you see the line items, it doesn't make sense that somebody's saying, I'm going to go renovate, it's not called Harambee House, it's called Harambee something, Annex, right? Which during RUTO's term, it was renovated. Prior to that, the first person who started with that place was Rao, right? So when RUTO came in, he renovated it. And there's a difference between a renovation and vitukama furniture, because renovation means that possibly you could even be pulling walls down, you could be moving things around, changing offices around, you could be doing all sorts of different things. So what is it that wasn't working for that? It's almost like somebody coming into the White House and saying, okay, you know what? I'm not just going to change the carpet and the furniture. I'm coming in, I'm breaking walls down. I want to have my own, whatever floor here. I want it to have an expansive this. The bedroom is not going to be the bedroom as it was. I want it to have, 3 little rooms next to it. You can't do that because those things are set. And the only way that the taxpayers' money is not spent at the rani is we have to quell these things in. You have a budget. Your budget is X. You're coming in and you're doing things that make sense. Furniture, carpet, that makes sense. Coming in and saying, okay, we're going to do a facelift and you do all of these other things, it really doesn't make sense because those are some of those things should be things that are taken care of under regular maintenance, not taken care of every time you switch a president or every time you switch a VP or every time you take, you know what I'm saying? So it's basically you're robbing Peter to pay Paul and you're the Paul in this case.
I was listening again, some people were very knowledgeable on these infrastructure bonds.
Yes.
And they were saying that at some point, because the infrastructure bonds are, let's say like now, Ali, Asheke, it's something that you can participate in.
Correct.
Because the returns are timam.
Yes.
So what happens is when you're offering an 18% return on them, what happens is the banks decide, you know what, we're not going to lend. I'm not going to lend Ali. Because if I told Ali, I can, you can give me 6% or almost 3% or whatever. If I can get 18%, and so there's this idiot from Mbere North, a guy called Geoffrey Roku, was trying to say how the policies of the government have seen companies make a lot of money. And somebody pointed out, Sam Gituku pointed out that it's because that those guys decided to invest in infrastructure bonds. If you are getting 18%, if you decide to invest on a thing that's going to give you 18%, of course, let's now say tax-free, why would I not invest? That means I'll pull my monies, right?
Yeah.
And say, you know what? Infrastructure bonds, 18%, shika. Small businesses, SMEs, you know, they're coming to borrow chums. I'm like, you know what? As we're going to give you at 20%.
Yeah.
Outer West make.
Yeah.
Outer West make.
Yeah,
So
that's right. It's increasing the cost of borrowing.
exactly. It does. So these guys, the banks, so you'll find that, and I think like core banks and banks, you're looking at 60 billion Kenya shillings. You're like, they're getting some serious returns because wamefanya nini? They have invested in those infrastructure bonds. So would it be good? Of course, now what's going to happen probably is if they decide, you know what, they're gonna be paying taxes on what you make after investing, you'll find that most of those guys are going to probably pull out. So maybe it might be an opportunity for a regular guy to invest in them. But still, again,
Now,
Yeah, but why?
But
if
Ali,
if,
please,
if,
you
if the
because
whole
all
point
that-
was that I'm supposed to make 18%, and then of that 18%, maybe I'm still giving you back.
so I'm not going to.
Hold on.
As a bank, I'm not going to invest.
No. I'm just, yes, correct. But then I'm saying, like, now you're saying that regular Mwananchi right now is being told, okay, these things would come back at 18%. However, we will tax you, say, I don't know, 5 or 8.
So
It doesn't matter,
income
does it?
income on bonds in most places, they do get taxed.
Yeah, but it's not going to be something that is substantive.
So
Right.
So let me give an example of America. So let's say you have bought bonds, government bonds worth let me say
100,000.
100,000. And then government bonds here in the US, maybe they'll give you something like 3%. They usually don't have a very good rate. 3% for, let's say 4%. So now you have $4,000 worth of income. The way it works in America, and Washeke, correct me if I'm wrong, I think bonds are taxed the same way capital gains are taxed. Meaning when you cash it out
Understood.
is when you will
Because that's when
will get
that's when you're
taxed.
gaining.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's when you
That's
gain.
like what, 15%?
Now if you wait. I think for bonds, I'm confusing the two. I think for bonds, like Washeke, please correct me here now, and because I don't want to mislead people. So I know with capital gains, let's say like if you have a stock, whatever you make from the stock, you will not pay any tax until the day when you sell the stock.
Yes.
Yeah. Now with bonds, I think it's taxed right away because this income, unlike stocks, which sometimes goes to rebuy the stocks again, with bonds they give you the cash. Let's say like you make 4%, they will deposit $4,000 into your account. Now that is considered income. So if your taxable income is 80,000, now with that 4,000, your new taxable income is now 84,000. So if you're in that 25% bracket, kwa hiyo 4,000, they will take 25%. Which is why I want people to hear me out. At a personal level, this is not financial advice, but to me, bonds are very bad investment. They are very bad investment, and that's just to me. And I think I'm biased because I personally do not do interest investments. But I think generally speaking,
Haram.
generally speaking, no, forget about even haram. When you go compare a portfolio, let's say like a 401k portfolio that's 100% equities, S&P 500, and you go compare to these things they give people, and I know majority of you who have 401ks, you have a target date fund. I have some news for you. Those target date funds, they have the highest fees, and they rarely beat. When you look at the long run, they rarely beat an S&P 500 fund. Just go check. What is a
what? Where? What?
It's called a target date fund.
What is that?
Unaona, like when you're opening a 401k, they will ask you, for simplicity, when do you plan to retire? So unasema maybe
Expiration date, basically.
yeah, maybe. So for someone like Omosh who's retiring in 2025, he'll say,
I thought it was 2015.
Okay, but on paper it's 2025.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, but for a young person like me who's retiring in 2055 or 2065, wataniweka kwa a fund.
Negro, please.
So what they typically do, the closer you get to retirement, they increase the amount of bonds. So the higher the amount of bonds you have in your portfolio, when you look at the average in the long run, you're getting a lower return. You know, this is just a news flash. Free advice I'll give you: if you're selecting a 401k fund, just go ask if there's one that's 100% equities, either total stock market or S&P 500. These target date funds, ndo hivyo, because they have a lot of bonds in them. And those bonds, they tend to pull down your portfolio. Because stocks have a 10% average return in the long run. Bonds, they could sometimes even average, when you base it on the amount on the face value that you took, sometimes it could even average 2% or even less. So that's a tangent. That's a besides the point.
Revisionist.
So are you saying that you're talking about bonds in the US?
Me, I'm talking about bonds everywhere. Now, okay, with this infrastructure bonds.
But over here, Trish says capital gains are taxed even here. And Washeke says in the US, bond interest is taxed in the year it's received.
Okay, so then that's the correction I needed. So bonds are not taxed like capital gains. Capital gains for stocks will be taxed the date when you sell the stock. So you can even hold a stock for 30 years.
30 years.
It will never be taxed.
Correct, yes.
Until the date when you
offload it.
When you offload it is when it's
like a
going to
house.
get taxed. Yeah. It's when it will get taxed. Similar to also appreciation of a house.
So
It's like
Washeke
a house
says here,
with the interest in the house.
target dates are a big issue and are being phased out due to increased 401k lawsuits over high fees and low performance.
Yes.
So eventually, which means that probably there's some guys
No, a lot of people,
like
I'll tell
me.
you, 9 out of 10. I haven't seen your 401ks, but I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 chances, most of you guys have a target date fund. Because that's what, HR departments, because HR departments are also not trained in finance. They'll tell you this is the simple thing to do. So T. Rowe Price, a lot of these companies that offer 401ks, they will tell you that this is the simple thing you can give people. Simple, but not knowing it has the highest fees.
Simple, but with the most gain for them.
With the most gain for them.
Yes.
With the most gain. Because they have to justify why they're charging you those fees. Remember, with an S&P 500, it's an index. You're not doing anything. So S&P 500 funds are typically some of the lowest, they have the lowest fees, or total stock market. But story for another day. Story for another day. So bonds, even when we talk about the infrastructure bonds in Kenya, I mean, of course, people from my community, by my community I mean Islam, we don't touch those because ni riba. It is interest. But now let's take out that part and just let's look at that bond for someone who is living in the United States. So you're given an infrastructure bond, 15%. That thing looks good. It looks like a really solid investment, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you took this bond maybe 10 years ago when the dollar was 80 bob. So when you now start calculating that 15%, when you start calculating, because remember, you converted your dollars to Kenya shillings to buy those bonds. But you earned your money in dollars.
Yes.
So now when you start calculating that rate of return in dollars, 15%, depending on the rate fluctuation, it can easily go down to 5 or 4%. Very easily. And then, of course, this is also being taxed. These bonds are also being taxed. You're not getting the full amount. It's also being taxed.
Yes.
So it's just me. Let me see some of the comments that are coming in here. Let me start with Washeke government bonds. Trish capital gains are taxed even here. That's true. Washeke says in the US, bond interest is taxed in the year it's received. Okay, thank you so much, Washeke. And then Washeke says target date are a big issue and are being phased out due to increased 401k lawsuits over high fees and low performance. And then the safer the investment, let me see, in the US bond interest, Trish says the safer the investment, the lower the return. And then Trish says bonds are safer than stocks. Now that's that definition of safe, and I think that's a conventional definition out there. But when you look at when you compare an individual bond to an individual stock, a bond of course is safer. But when you look at a portfolio like S&P 500, that's much safer than buying one individual stock. So it's always very risky to buy an individual stock. I never recommend. I mean, I know people like doing that because people like taking adventures, but I never recommend that. And then, correctionally, bonds are taxed as ordinary income. Yes, you're right, Washeke. Bonds are taxed at the ordinary income tax rate, but they're taxed in the same year that the interest, not when you cash out, the same year the interest was earned. The cash out is for the stocks.
Got it.
Yeah. And then Trish says, if you're young, you can take higher risks. If you're older and closer to retirement, you then retract and start playing it safe. Trish, this is where I will tell you, like from experience, that for not to use a strong word, but this is what these 401k companies will tell you. They will tell you this so that you can load more bonds on your portfolio. But I always tell people, just take any of those retirement date funds, because I know now when people see this, they'll realize how much money they've lost. I'm sorry for revealing this to you. If you're on a retirement date fund, whatever fund it is, you can go Google that fund. It will show you how much you made.
The curve, yeah.
Yeah, it will show you the curve, the average you made in 20 years. Be ready for disappointment. Compare that to S&P 500. So I tell people, don't worry, atakama, if the longer you have it in there, the more you don't need to worry. Now the problem is when you've been playing with these safe funds, you've been having an average return of 3-4% maybe, or let's say even 6%, but now you're closer to retirement, then that might be a problem. But then if you start early, if you're anywhere 15 years away from retirement, you should always just keep an S&P 500 fund and never change it.
Are we digressing from this?
No. I mean, I know.
I'm just curious.
I know it's a
okay.
tangent. I know it's a tangent. But for diaspora people, these bonds, and this is just my personal view. You're better off leaving your money in an S&P 500 fund.
And I think that's what Vic over here says. It's better to save your money here. But, well, not save your money here, but I think it depends on where you put your money in, because...
So the dumber the investment, here's the funny thing. The dumber the investment, the more likelihood that you're going to get a higher return. This thing of ndajaribu kumix hii na hii, you'll always get caught.
Utanaswa.
And that's how Warren Buffett, just Google Warren Buffett's bet. And Warren Buffett is one of the best in this game. He bet with some of the best investors in Wall Street, told them 10 years, I'm doing an S&P 500 fund. You do your hedge funds. Let's see which one is going to do better in 10 years. And Warren Buffett won the bet 10 years later. So, but anyway.
What was the bet? $1 billion?
It was $1 million, which he donated to charity.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Which he donated to charity. But yeah.
Was he taxed on that?
So Warren Buffett knows how to.
He knows how to manage his.
He knows how to manage his taxes. Now before we continue.
And ball on a budget.
Yeah. Now, before we continue, not to bore people too much with taxes na nini, another quick sports break. This is also Rugby 7's weekend. I know since Kenya got relegated, people have not been paying attention to what the Rugby 7's team has been doing.
Yes.
This weekend, the Kenyan women's Rugby 7's team is in Krakow, Poland, and the men's team is in Munich, Germany. Now, this is the Challenger Series, and this is the series where teams will get promoted to the main cup, to the main event, which we got relegated from in the men's series.
But there's a mathematical career going on over there.
A what?
Mathematical.
What exactly? What do you mean by mathematical?
So you understand, like in championship, in
Yeah.
the EPL,
Yeah.
the top 2
Mm-hmm.
qualify for, if you get promoted.
Yeah.
The number 3
Yeah.
is fought between 4 teams.
Yes.
There's
And
a
then there's
wild
a
card.
playoff.
There's a wild
Yes.
card playoff, right? To
Playoff,
to
wild
get
card
in.
or whatever.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, so what happens?
Yeah.
So this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So in Germany, if we finish,
No, there's a table. There's an overall standing table.
yes,
Which is accumulation of
In the
what-
Challenger Cup.
in
of
the Challenger Cup, yes.
of the challenger in Dubai.
So we have to finish like
in Dubai.
number-
It was in
I-
Dubai.
I
it
think
was
you have
in,
to do like either top 2 or something.
No,
like that.
okay. So let me explain. It's
To be able to be
it's a
pulled
bit
back in.
complicated. There's no automatic qualifier.
No, it's not, because
There's no automatic qualifier.
you have to finish,
so-
and then when you go to Spain, then the guys in the IRB who have wamewekwa hapa relegation now have to compete with
They
these
have to
guys in the
compete with you
Challenger.
guys, and whoever wins,
Whoever wins the
is
top
the
two
one
So
or
the
to
top
go.
four,
Yes.
the top 4 in the Challenger
Advance.
Series
Yes,
will compete with the bottom 4 in the main cup. They will play a whole tournament.
yes.
So the
Which is in
best
Spain.
4 teams
Yes.
out of those 8 are the ones who will be
Will go.
promoted,
Yes.
and then the other 4 will
We'll
Wa-
come
wa-
back in.
wanarudi. And
We'll
that is
come
why
Challenger.
and that is why it is important for us to remain in the top 4 in Munich. Best scenario, and I think you can look at the whatever. It's to finish number 2. Tutaenda Spain.
Tournament.
Yes.
Now to fight with
Now
wale,
that one is
to fight with wale wase wamekuja majuu.
wale
kutoka
sasa
majuu.
wale wanakuja hapa tuna compete now ndio.
Now in the overall standings,
Yeah.
for men's, Kenya is leading. We're at 83 points, followed by Chile at 78 points. No, actually, sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing. Kenya is leading at 36 points, followed by Chile at 32, Germany 26, Hong Kong 26. So we're in very good standing.
But we need
So we need.
finals.
Yeah, no,
Simple.
it would be actually the top team is actually Uruguay. Uruguay is ahead of Kenya. Uruguay is number 1. We are tied at number 1 at 36 points, but I think Uruguay has more the point
Tries
difference.
or something.
Yeah, no, the point difference, the equivalent of goal difference in rugby. And then so Kenya is number 2, right? So it's Uruguay, Kenya, Chile, Germany. Now, for you to be in a good pool, you need to finish as high as possible for you to be given, like a proper ranking in the pool. Now, interestingly, in the women's, China is number 1 with 40 points, Argentina number 2, 34, Belgium number 3, 28, Uganda number 4, 26, Kenya number 5 at 24. So very interesting.
Very.
I'm more.
That's very tight.
Yes, it's very tight. This will be
It's
the
like-
first
it's
time.
like anybody can need that.
Yeah,
On the women's side.
if Kenya can get to that top 4 and get into that tournament and we qualify, it will be the first time the Kenyan women are being promoted. So this will be a very, very big deal.
It's a big deal, and that is why the Munich easy games are Munich that are happening this weekend.
Yes.
It is muy important. Number 2, bare minimum.
Uwezi ambia
Number
wa-
2.
hawa wase wa Stuttgart tuende study.
Where kuna wase, by the way, there are people who are already on
Yes,
on
guys.
there.
Yeah, guys are. Yes.
Kuna wase wa
Yes.
Stuttgart
Yes.
tuende study. There are guys already in Germany. I'm sure Konye is over there. I think Dombolo is gonna be there. There's kuna Mbogi imeenda kusupport wase. But maze, if we are able, because if we win or we are number 2,
Yes.
Germany, Spain, gadhe sasa hapo ni mbivu na mbichi.
Yeah, and
Ni mbivu na mbichi, because which means if we qualify next weekend, the Challenger Series in Spain, Madrid.
no, when is Madrid? Madrid.
Oh, it's in
what
2
date?
weeks. Sorry,
no,
it's in 2 weeks.
I think
I think it's 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna confirm the date.
It is,
I'm gonna check and
it's at
confirm
the same time, Champions League is gonna be happening. The
Okay,
final.
so that's gonna be
It's in
the
2 weeks.
weekend.
It's a weekend.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna confirm.
Ebu
that date.
confirm.
Yeah.
But if we manage my challenges in Madrid
Mhm.
next year, tuko IRB, tumerudi circuit, like a nonsense.
Yeah, so
Is that simple?
I see us coming back in, but man, we need not fall asleep on the wheel.
The problem is, again, I think we're gonna compartmentalize this shit.
for the men's side, I'm not too worried. What the women is the ones who I would really love to see qualify, because that's gonna make a very big change in women's rugby in Kenya.
Correct.
No, I'm
They'll
with
have
you.
a path to at least
But
being seen even on an international.
my issue always is the supporting structures.
Or you mean our non-supporting structures where
Again, that is my issue.
somebody is taxing
Women
and
or
cooling
men?
himself?
Thank you. KRU, those idiots. All they do is just pilfer, and it's because speaking from guys on the inside, Sasha is really trying to do a good job.
So Madrid is 31st May.
Yeah. So that is
to
in
the
2
2nd
weeks.
of June. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's 31st of
Yeah.
May to the 2nd.
So Sasha
of
is Sasha is really trying to go out. He's really I'm saying like an effort, and this is from people. When you're in the circle of guys who have played rugby, Kenya ones, whatever, they're in touch, they're in tune.
Yeah.
They're like these guys trying. And anajaribu kunyonga loopholes so that they whatever can thrive.
Yeah.
But he's busy being fought by cartels.
And then remember that
Cartels in KRU. Yo, whatever it is. KFF, KRU. Ow, madimoni. Demons.
And then remember,
Ogopa.
there's also Paris Olympics that the rugby team will also be going
Yes.
to participate in.
Is
So-
that 7th or 15th?
No, that's sevens.
Sevens,
There's no
sevens.
15s in Olympics.
Oh, okay.
Olympics has only sevens. There's no 15s in Olympics. So yeah, so Kenya will also be participating. It's very interesting that Kenya qualified at the expense of South Africa. So South Africa, I don't know whether they got another chance, or maybe if they have to play in
A
another
wild card?
tournament. Yeah, there's a wild card tournament that South Africa has to play.
It's like a
'cause
playoff.
Yeah,
thing, right?
Kenya qualified. Remember when Kenya defeated South Africa in Zimbabwe?
Yes.
When Kina Konye were there. That was a very
was
big deal.
huge.
Yeah, especially because we're not in the main cup.
So there's a documentary called Chasing the Sun. Have you heard of Chasing the Sun?
Nope.
You've heard of it.
Asha.
It is a documentary following the Springboks, the 15 the team winning 2019 the World Cup in Japan and in France. It's called Chasing the Sun. Just know it is somewhere in some bootleg, like whatever. The 15s, the Springboks, my friend, do you know they change rules because of what they did in the last career, in the last World Cup?
The last World Cup, you mean like the one in
in
Paris?
France? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The kicking game.
The kicking game.
Yeah.
That was because in the rules you could call, because so in the documentary, Ras, asked the guys, asked one of the referees, if you were to kick the ball and we call for a scrum, that's illegal. Like, yeah, there's no law that prevents you from doing that, because Rasi explains, yeah, France was kicking the game, you would kick the ball. The forwards, the scrum is chilling. So the team that has been kicked to kicks the ball back.
Yeah.
Where does the ball chomoka? Where these guys are placed, where they are. So they really don't have to run to chase the ball down.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna kick the ball, then they'll kick back. Then it's like, why don't we try to call for a scrum when the ball is kicked to us? And that's what I think one of the wingers gets the ball, calls for a rack. So in the documentary, you're like, people are asking, yeah, is that legal? Wait a minute, what do the rule book says? But they changed that law. But it's a very good documentary. I have a newfound respect for the Springboks, the 15s. Those guys are on point like a decimal. But yes, Kenya, Shuja, 20.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now let's go to we're gonna talk about. We still have what's called digital access taxation and motor vehicle taxation.
Chawa tulipe ushuru.
But when we talk about an excise duty on internet and social media advertisement of specific products and services. The bill proposes to introduce excise duty 15% on fees charged for internet and social media advertisements relating to alcoholic beverages, betting, gaming, lotteries, and prize competition. So quite interesting, and the taxation of these are called sin taxes. I think they happen everywhere.
Watch our lipe. Actually, you know what? I would not mind betting. All those watu walipe ushuru. Wacha watu walipe.
Yeah,
because Maryland over here, how it took them a while to have even betting, even the casinos to come.
Yeah, I think
because
2012. 2012 is when they allowed the live casinos.
Yeah, so they have made money. That money has been used, has been repurposed to pay like for K through 12 education, stuff like that.
Pesa haramu yo lakini.
So, but
pesa haramu.
Na sasa July, this past July, last year, legalized weed.
Now you see, with this betting, it used to be 12.5% of the amount wagered or staked. Now the proposed rate is 20%.
It should even be 50%.
Yeah, the proposed rate is 20%.
Should be 50%.
And then there was this one for money transfer services. We already talked about that. So this is betting, gaming, prize competition, lottery. Like I don't know whether Kenya still do ile mambo ya charity sweepstakes. It used to be there a long time ago. I don't know that people do it, but but lottery competitions. So here the implications are saying, we note that these provisions would bring into the tax base non-residents offering the above-mentioned services in Kenya through a digital platform, which would ensure equality with the residents offering the services that are required to pay the same amount of excise duty. So I'm not even fully understanding here exactly what that.
Okay. Just okay. I don't mean to go back, but because here. So the value of the tax on financial insurance services. So the bill has proposed to move various financial services and insurance services from exempt to standard rate. I think that's 16%, right? The services are issuance of credit and debit cards.
Yeah.
So kadi umepoteza, ukienda kuget kadi,
you get a tax.
Unachapa. Telegraphic money transfer services. Okay, that is not cash up. Foreign exchange, check handling, processing, cleaning. So check, ukiandika,
there's a tax.
Issuance of securities for monies, including bills of exchange, promissory notes, money, and postal orders.
Tax.
But yeah, we pay for money orders here.
Yes, there's a fee that we pay for money orders.
Whatever it is, there's a fee.
There's a fee.
Assignment of a debt for consideration. I guess we need explanation. The provision of financial services on behalf of another on a commission basis. So if Ali is giving us financial service,
yes,
and you charge, unalipa tax. That's my.
But you're saying, but on a commission basis as opposed to a fee, because.
So if it's on a commission,
or he's collecting a commission based upon the services that he's provided.
I think so, but even if he could as a commission, they take a cut. But that's my assumption.
Yeah,
so
but a commission is kind of like an income.
Yes, so
it is an income.
Yeah,
it's
an income and income.
So it looks like they were charging it for fees, not for commission. So now that's the loophole. That's the one that they're bringing back. They're saying that if this person is charging for instead of charging a fee, they're saying you would give me a commission. It's almost like a lawyer who's doing what are those cases called, where
pro bono.
Not cases. Pro bono, no. The other ones that when a lot of people are on the case.
Oh,
class
action.
Yeah.
Because you cool off of what they make.
Okay.
So we would cool a percentage. Right? So your agreement with them is that, okay, if you guys win the class action,
Yeah.
mi fee yangu ni
X.
10%. So
But I think the provision of financial services, just providing
yes. So yes.
Kuna
So
kakitu.
so if Ali's providing financial services,
off the
but
top.
he's not charging me a fee.
So it's
He
a
says-
commission.
He'll say that
Ah,
of
okay.
these services,
I'll
you-
pay
You get a
X.
commission, I get that.
yes, you
Okay,
give me a
sawa.
commission.
Okay.
It's a percentage because
Okay,
the
I-
commission becomes a percentage. It's just like a real estate broker when they're selling your house, right?
Yes.
What they get paid is a commission. It's a fee,
Okay,
right? Based
okay.
upon the services they have
Yeah.
provided.
Okay. Management and related insurance consultancy services.
Insurance consult
Yeah.
management
And
insurance consultant.
actuarial services and services of insurance assessors and loss adjusters.
Yeah, so all those relate to the cost of doing business in Kenya. So
Yes.
if you have a business in Kenya, just know that your profits have been cut by all these taxes, and
and also, like, if you own a building and you're renting out,
yes, that
If you have a-
generally rental income is taxed.
but I think they're making it something. Anyway,
Rental income
Any-
is taxed. You know, like that bill had so much, so
Yeah.
there were some items that I had to cut off.
okay.
I mostly wanted to focus on items that are affecting people in the diaspora.
Yeah.
Now, the other part that we're talking about here, I can see Esther Mulusa is tuned in. Esther Mulusa anasema my sentiments exactly. I am just doing that. I will have conversations. Trish, Esther, we'll have conversations on the sides. I'm gonna show you some charts and yeah.
You're talking about fees charged on advertisement via the internet and social media. Is that
Yes.
that's
Yeah, so those ones, you know, like, and here's where the confusion comes, because when we think about taxes in the US, it's very different from taxes in Kenya, because in Kenya they clearly want to get the fee at the service point. Now, in the US there's something called withholding tax on income, but withholding tax is on very few. It's on very few things. Let's say, like, if you're a contractor, you'll be paid your full amount. When you're filing taxes is when you and IRS will reconcile whether IRS owes you or whether you owe IRS.
yeah.
Yeah, but clearly, from what I'm seeing in Kenya, is they kind of want to get the tax from source, from wherever the service is being offered. You know, like for example, like motor vehicles that we're gonna start talking about shortly. They will take it from your insurance. They take it from there, and that's it. Now, this
Because
one,
there's also something that was circulating at some point. I don't know if it was I think it was part of 2023 and it's still part. If you owed money, the idea was, if let's say Ali owes 1 million, or there is KRA, or Mosha's KRA comes and says you owe 1 million, you first put the 1 million somewhere, right?
yeah.
And then you come and defend and say why we don't owe you 1 million.
Okay, I've not understood that part.
So you're parking the 1 million.
You park in the 1 million. You park
Yeah.
it, meaning it did not matter, because if you had a discrepancy, if you had like, you know what, I'm going to fight this thing. I want to fight
Yeah.
this thing. They tell you, okay, that's fine. You want to fight it? Please, weka your 1 million.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Pay
Unakumbuka?
first. Yeah.
Pay
I remember
first.
that. Yeah.
And
So-
that was last
So you're
year.
paying
Pay
first,
first,
pay
fight
first
later.
to them.
Yeah.
You're paying first to them, or
Yes.
you're paying first to somebody else,
No,
another
you're-
third party to hold it.
KRA.
No,
tell you,
it's KRA. It's
Oh,
not, it's
weka-
not a third
Well,
party.
just
Pay,
pay.
or pay us and then we
Yeah,
we
pay
talk
us.
to
Yeah.
tuongee huko mbele.
Yeah.
But
Tukutane
ile
mbele.
interest ya hii do umeshikilia,
Gani?
see, you're giving KRA the money, right? If I
Boss.
win my case, are you paying me interest?
We don't know that.
They don't pay interest. Has
Yeah.
the IRS ever paid interest?
We're talking about KRA, not ARS.
Boss.
No, by the way, I
they-
think it's the same thing.
boss, these guys
if
sit down
IRS owes
and
you,
look at that
they'll
stuff.
give you the same amount of money they owe you.
That is fine.
They will give you, they will not give you.
No, that is
But when
IRS.
you owe
But
them,
we know KRA.
they will charge you a penalty plus interest.
But we know KRA.
No, but what I'm trying that's
Because-
why I'm trying to say that KRA, remember, a lot of these things are based upon what are they called? We studied and we saw. So kuna mtu alitupeleka sijui Pennsylvania ama sijui ni tukakaa nao wase wa nini, and we found out the tax laws and we see okay, hapa ndio pali wanakula hapa. So we have geared our stuff towards that.
I would not be surprised.
So again, these guys are not paying you an interest.
No,
but
they're
if
not.
you're telling me that I pay fast and then we talk,
because that was the bone of contention last year in last year's financial bill in 2023. That was a problem.
So on the taxation of income earned from a digital marketplace or platform, the bill proposes to deem income paid out to a resident or non-resident by an owner or operator of a digital marketplace or platform with respect to digital monetization defined to include creative works, creating or sharing of any other material other than exempt material, goods, property, or services to be income accrued or derived from Kenya. A platform is defined as a digital platform or website that facilitates the exchange of a short-term engagement, freelance, or provision of a service between a service provider who is an independent contractor or freelancer and a client customer. Digital marketplace means an online or electronic platform which enables a person to provide goods, property, or services, including ride-hailing services, food delivery services, freelance services, professional services, rental services, task-based services, and other services that is not exempt from the tax under the Income Tax Act. Having deemed such income to be accrued or derived from Kenya, the bill proposes to require that owners and operators of a digital marketplace or platform withhold 5% of the payment made to a resident person and 20% where payments are made to a non-resident person. Okay, that's a lot going on there. But I think, these apps za chakula, ride-hailing services na nini, I think now there's gonna be a tax, which means those services, the price is gonna go up. Or, I don't know what your understanding of this is, but I feel like those are the places where service fees will go up.
Okay. The service fees may go up. And by the way, let's give a shout out to Esther Mulusa, listening in from Shimalavandu. It's 5 a.m. Okay. Fine. I think some form of tax, something, it's warranted, because if you guys listened to so John Oliver had a special talking about ride sharing apps on his show, and it is okay. There's the fight is trying to make money on one end, but also not trying to charge people for deliveries, because at some point, we are so used to this, these apps for delivery, ordering food or whatever. You're not charged. So sometimes it depends on the place. There's a certain fee depending on what it is, but some of them really don't make money or whatever. But it's like there was a whole episode on how some of these companies have gone around and tried to change laws, and so that they don't pay drivers, or get away with not paying insurance, like if there are accidents or whatever. So there's a guy like had to ride his bike even with a broken leg just so that he could make ends meet or whatever. So in one aspect, there is for me, until something else that comes up, okay, fine, charge. But ultimately, the costs and the surcharge or the upcharge is going to be passed on to the consumer. How much does it cost to get a Bolt ride in Kenya?
200 shillings.
Exactly. But there are so many Bolt carriers.
Correct.
So if there was a tax for every time, because remember, because if for everything, because and that's why they're also introducing the e-teams, because
But
if you're a
remember, if
business-
there's like a 15% tax, that means for every 200 bob you pay, they are taking 30 bob away. So that means the driver is getting paid less.
so which means that it's gonna come to you, it's gonna come to the consumer. So there's gonna be an extra 30 bob.
Yeah, you know,
So it's gonna
actually-
move from 170 to 30. Even if you see one,
It's gonna come
no,
from the consumer and
No,
the driver.
It's not okay.
And the driver is also gonna make less.
Here's what's gonna happen.
mm-hmm.
You will call the driver. He will show up. He'll ask you to cancel. You cancel,
Standard process.
and then you give the guy the money, and it's not trackable. Are we together? And he'll say
We are together.
the customer cancelled. So these fees and taxes that you think you're going to collect, you won't collect.
Yeah, it's
That's
gonna encourage
exactly
that
what's going
behavior.
to happen.
And then
now
now-
they'll come back to the drivers and say, you guys have been operating na tuoni dozenyu. Lakini watu wana cancel. They're calling us when they see that what they are being charged for the taxes, they're saying Z.
And
or
then what's
whatever
gonna
excuse
happen-
they come up with.
What's gonna happen? Unajua the way Kenya kila mtu akona mtu wake. We're gonna go back to that. I have my Bolt guy, mi nampigia simu direct.
Correct. Yes. So huyo mse wako
Yeah.
atakuja na sasa wewe all you'll do is bei ya kuongea ilikuwa
Yeah.
you look at the app, see this is what the app is supposed to charge,
Yeah.
and then now the guy says, okay, sawa, I'll give you what the app is, because anyway folks are not using the app anymore, but
Yeah.
at least it's a guide.
Because you already have a guy you can call.
in fact-
uko na ule mse wako wa simu like
Na
wewe
huyo
there.
kama hayuko ako na mtu wake ambaye anafanya
atamcharge referral fee.
Yeah.
maybe, but what
20
happens
bob.
is, let's say shift yake ni shift ya jioni, na weni unafanya hizi nini during the day, right, or asubuhi,
Whatever it is,
right?
yeah.
When you call him, he'll tell you, mimi nimefunga kazi sahi, lakini
Niko na
wacha
mtu.
wacha
Mtu wako
nipigie
ako na mtu wake.
yes, mtu wangu,
Pigia washeke.
yes, no, he'll tell you atakupigia.
Eh,
You never tell you atakupigia. Then a guy calls and say, hey, ulikuwa nataka nini, uko wapi?
nimepigiwa nani washeke.
Yep.
And then
Okay.
you know the
And
other,
that's we used to do that before the apps.
and then
We
you know,
still do.
You know the other interesting thing in America, when you use rideshare, like if the Uber driver calls you, you call the Uber driver, it will be a random number. You will never see their number. It will be a random
Yeah,
number.
it's protected. yes.
However, in Kenya, I noticed that it's direct.
Yeah, it is.
It's a
Yeah,
direct
it's a
connection.
direct
But-
connection, yes.
So
but
kuna
they-
namba yake.
But they also have the option of using the app. They don't like to use the app because the app
you have
fails.
to use data.
No, but the app also fails.
Washeke.
when you're using
I'm
that,
in
you use
agreement. Yes, yeah, because she's saying but one mic, taxes and paying Uber riders a living wage are two different things. Agreed.
Yeah.
No, I'm in agreement because I think also there's it's like there's so many Uber / Bolt guys, and I think that's why also it has okay. We are spoiled for choice.
Correct.
We are spoiled for choice.
Or you can-
I'll get somebody
Yeah.
checking from Ungem to ST for 200 bob.
Yes.
200 from Ungem
Yeah.
to ST
Yeah.
for 200.
Yeah.
And I'm
I
like,
know.
oh shit. But what happens is
And with undo they can be socket.
yes. What happens though? Go back to Omosh. I'm like, wait, gather skiza. Hey, niaje? Sawa nikukupigia ndika.
Yeah. So
So now you already have a connect. Like yo, I'll you know like.
we're
back
gonna revert to that economy of niko na mtu. So with that economy of niko na mtu, now it's a cash economy where there are no taxes.
The
you're
money is never figured in the
It's
coffers.
never figured in the-
These
the
coffers
the
where they
coffers.
want the money
Remember-
to figure, it's not going.
Lafa curve.
Remember
Lafa curve.
Lafa
La-
curve. There you go. Yeah, you remember the Lafa curve?
Yes,
Exactly.
I remember it.
That's what's happening. The more you increase, the less people that you're gonna collect from, the less taxes you will collect. And we'll wait to see what
And by the way,
happens.
just for guys, this is just something that has not been passed. It's supposed to.
It's proposed.
It's a proposed, and they're supposed,
supposed
to
to
be.
go through public participation.
Say that again.
Public participation.
Once again.
Public participation. It's supposed to go through public participation.
Itakuwa ngori, bro.
Yeah. Anyway, DJ Moshfire, before we wrap up, I know people want to talk about e-tax, Yeah, motor vehicles. Let's actually talk about this before we go to the president's schedule, because the president will be coming and our time is running out. So they said on the motor vehicle taxation, the bill proposes to introduce a tax known as motor vehicle tax at the rate of 2.5% of the value
motor circulation tax.
Yes, of the motor vehicle. The value of the motor vehicle shall be determined on the basis of the make, model, engine capacity in cubic centimeter, and year of manufacture of this motor vehicle. This tax will be payable on each vehicle at the time of issuance of insurance cover. The bill proposes to cap the minimum tax payable to 5,000 and a maximum to 100,000. The bill proposes that the insurer of the motor vehicle shall collect and remit motor vehicle tax within 5 working days after issuing a motor vehicle insurance cover. An insurer who fails to collect and remit motor vehicle tax shall be liable to pay a penalty equivalent of 50% of the uncollected tax and the actual amount of the uncollected tax. Motor vehicle tax will not be payable in respect of ambulances or motor vehicles owned by the national government, county government, Kenya Defence Forces, National Police Services, National Intelligence Services, or persons exempt from tax under the Privileges and Immunities Act. And I think those are diplomats. So yeah, so there you have it.
Now, before can I play this MP from Mbeere North
Yes,
explaining about that tax on cars,
the motor vehicle tax.
the motor vehicle tax.
Okay.
If I can get it right, un momento por favor. Let's see. Okay, hold on.
You mean the guy from Embo?
Yes, Mbeere North. Yes, that one.
So why is it good for Kenya?
Some motor vehicle project.
Okay, motor vehicle tax, it is not new, you say. It has happened in the US. So why is it good for Kenya?
Some motor vehicle is not a day-to-day consumption for all Kenyans.
What?
And number two, if the motor vehicles are used as capital for generating income, if we are taxing elements which are generating income, which can be able to repay themselves, then there's a room for discussion. There's a room for discussion as far as that is concerned.
Mheshimiwa Ruku, you got here, how did you get here? You drove or?
Yes, I drove.
You generated income?
Some are being paid by Kenyans, isn't it? I've been paid by Kenyans.
To drive
No. I've been paid. Probably I have some other businesses. Probably I have some other business from here. Probably I'll go to one of my business in town, or I'll be able to check other businesses around. I will drive there. But what you're saying is, anything that is producing or generating income need to be taxed.
What?
Consumption.
So you want to tax my
consumption
laptop?
For a Kenyan to put food on table, we don't need to tax that. What we need to tax.
Mheshimiwa Ruku, so I have a laptop here.
Yes.
I use it to do my work.
Yes.
I get paid a salary. It is taxed, pay as you earn, and all the other taxes that accrue. You want this tax as well? This is not a business. Is a vehicle a business?
Listen.
Yeah.
We use our vehicles to generate income.
Oh, no. How? It's a means of transport, isn't it?
You have a lorry, isn't it?
This is not...
No. I'm giving you an example. You have a lorry which is transporting your potatoes from your farm to the market. That lorry is generating income for you.
But you have income tax that is being taxed, isn't it?
On that potato, you're going to pay tax, the income.
But also, this is a tool. The tool which you are using to do production.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is a member of parliament from Mbeere North in the UDA government who is supposed to champion and positively sell the 2024 finance bill.
Wow.
Ali.
I have no words. Because
Ali, you generate income when you drive your car.
Yes, you generate income. Then he shifts to talk about if you have a lorry. But he was asked a very simple question. You drove here. Did you generate income?
Is a car a business?
According to him.
Very simple question.
According to him, a car is a business.
Now, I think what these guys were trying to do, so there's some states in the US, and I think there's like maybe 9 states that charge what's called a property tax on the car. Now that's a property tax. It's certain states like Virginia. But the problem with this tax they're trying to tax in Kenya, they're using the Income Tax Act, where you're supposed to be taxing income, not taxing, like taxation of property. That's a whole different.
That's a whole different career.
Yes. And then this guy is being asked, like what income is being generated by owning a vehicle. Very simple question. And they were just simply not able to answer.
None of these guys, that courier guy from like Kipio, is it Nakuru, whatever. This guy is called Geoffrey Roku. This is the same guy who was trying to champion to soften something to do with the procurement. You remember how like anyone who was trying to say that people should not be prosecuted for
procurement fraud.
Procurement fraud.
Yeah.
These idiots.
But now you see here's a problem we have. This guy is probably very popular huko mashinani. And that's a problem
he was voted for.
And that's a problem that we have. So the people who are being voted for, they know how to do politics mashinani, like they know how to lie to people and get elected. But now we give them the responsibility of now taking care of the national budget and creating tax laws. And these are the people who are now coming to defend the government. Pablo is asking, there was that other member of parliament, I think it was the Molo member of parliament, who was talking about
Sikuria, the guy of the
Kimani Kuria, who was saying that the tax on bread is because it's causing diabetes.
Yes.
I think I can get that.
Yeah, if you can get that, please play it, because I'm at a point where I'm like, do these people, do they even prepare for these interviews?
Here we go.
First of all, please tell me, what is the justification of raising the VAT on bread from 0 to 16%? We had a very long conversation with the Long Treasury, with the National Treasury, on this VAT on fuel. The initial thinking was maybe the bread has there's a concern about diabetes and all that. But the arguments that we're receiving from Kenyans is bread is not a luxury good. Bread is something that people have every morning for breakfast, every time, and it's taken by across the people. So that's why I said, Sam, all these are proposals. Sorry, you're saying that the concern is that there's a lot of diabetes in the country. That is the argument that was given by National Treasury.
So there's a study showing that it's coming from bread.
I'm not from National Treasury, Sam. I'm saying we are listening. And I really.
Ladies and gentlemen,
that's Molo member of parliament.
Yes.
Kimani Kuria.
Yes.
And I think
that is
the chair
of,
I think he's the chair of the finance.
He is the chair
committee.
Yes, and this is courtesy of Sam Kituku and Citizen.
Wow.
Yes. Wow. So these are the people that our parents, our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, grandparents. These are the people that they have to deal with, but these are the elected idiots running and managing my challenges. Omosh, don't look at me like that, bro.
When you listen to those interviews, you are like, you're first of all, the gall of these folks to even. It's like Sisi ni Wajinga. What's that song? Nani song? Is it King Kaka? Or is it Opcho?
Yes. No,
it's King Kaka.
Wajinga Sisi.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes. Perfect description of the Wananchi. Because these guys knew Wananchi. Us guys were just there.
And remember, these are the same guys. This Kimani Kuria guy, this is the same guy who was pushing for the last finance bill 2023. He was part of the committee. He wasn't the chair. He was part of the committee.
This thing that they're thinking.
And they never, and whatever. And again, if you listen to the interview, especially in that particular interview, there was one with him and the former Laikipia governor, where he talks about there was majority of the people of the public participation supported whatever was on the bill. But when he counted the numbers, or he gave the numbers, some was like, but that's a third. How is that the majority? Kubeba ujinga and
they
that
don't
is why
expect folks to ask questions,
but they don't, because Kenyans don't.
Yes, and
In Kenya they don't.
But when you're going to come in,
did a very amazing
when
job.
you're
Oh,
going to come
man,
in
Sam-
front, when
Sam
you're going
is
to
on
come in
point.
front of these guys, right? You're expecting them not to say anything to you, and you have come to the radio station because you're a government or anyway you're an elected official. You think that nobody's going to care.
And this guy, by the way, Sam Gituku, and even
Remember, they are
even
also
Eric Latif,
they are
he never
also-
leaves. He does not give them breathing space.
But they are also affected. So it's not like because the guy is sitting there behind the chair of as a host that you guys will say, we're gonna forgive you, so that car that you drive, you won't be taxed.
Because remember, this tax is exempting these government cars,
County governments, yeah.
county government, whatever.
They're all
RUTO,
not paying that,
they're not
yeah.
paying. They're not paying that tax.
They are official vehicles, right? It would exempt official government vehicles,
Exactly.
correct? But who would be true to form? Who is the highest? The person who pays the highest, for taxes, it will be government. No. So for insurance, for car insurance, I would assume it's government
We're talking about
Because of the
Kenya,
number
bro.
of cars they own.
because of the yes, I would
Yes.
assume so, right? Even
Yeah.
if you give them discounts, they're still paying more than everybody else,
Yes. Okay.
right?
Granted.
So if you're really looking for a way of generating that income, tax yourself.
Exactly. And that's the point.
But again, if you put, here's the thing, okay, if you're putting this thing into the Mwananchi, then you have to say, okay, Gava also needs to pay these things. Gava should not be exempt. And neither should you put a clause in there that says that, since this guy is a member of parliament while he's still serving, he doesn't pay that tax. He's exempt from paying that tax. Because that will be the next thing that they're going to bring in. Once they say, unajua hapa, these guys are serving.
And
if you're actively serving, you shouldn't be paying these taxes.
Already there's an exemption to which I would understand. Intelligence acquisitions, material, whatever it is. There's an exception to that. It could be in the billions, but there's an exception. Okay, fine.
Okay.
Sawa. Again, it still burdens Wanjiko.
Correct.
And that is why somebody asked when we started the show, public participation, as Akina Eric Latif say,
Yeah.
netawe.
Yeah, does it have any value? Like
doesn't.
That's the question.
It doesn't have any value.
Because remember, there's still no there's no official public participation law. Yes, the Constitution requires a law to be created, but we don't have one as of yet. So right
And they
now,
won't.
it's whatever government decides.
Of course.
It's whatever government decides.
Yeah.
This is public participation.
Did the president at one point in time, is it last year, the housing levy, what was his clarion call? More or less it was more like namfanye hii kitu.
Yeah.
Sitaki kusikia mambo ingine.
Yeah. So public participation, it's a box checked, but it doesn't really have any
It doesn't.
impact.
It is
Especially
exactly.
especially when these guys know that we can overshoot, and then when we reduce it kidogo, we'll tell them that was your public participation.
And that's what they did actually over here. That's
Yeah.
what this Kimani Kuria, when he was being interviewed, when he was when he was asked about what the numbers were, whether he has the numbers, and the numbers calling or mailing or whatever, he said like whatever number he gave, some was like that's like a third. So he didn't have the numbers.
Yeah.
He didn't have the numbers. So this is like you said, they're gonna check the box. This thing, itapita.
Okay.
And this is because, and I was listening to Akina Eric, and they were saying at some point, because we are the sovereign. And I think you heard about a report came out on what was required for us and what I don't know what you call them, they're not NGOs, like a Kenya Posta, what do you call them, like
Parastatals. Yeah.
they have to merge. So they were listing the number of parastatals
Yeah.
that have to merge, because that is part of the restructuring and whatever, so that we can be shown that we are
Yeah.
doing that, whatever is doing something. And on top of that, you have to show what is the sovereign doing, to show that watalipia hii debt. This is part of sovereign, to show that the sovereign. So that is
Yeah.
why sovereign is being taxed on the car, is being taxed on bank cards, it is being taxed on transaction fees and checks and spirits and whatever, and gambling, so that they be like, IMF comes in like, okay, these guys,
And that's
sovereign,
why-
and this thing is going to pass.
And that's why I think I'm almost sure there's an invisible hand,
of course,
like called the IMF. And these international organizations, because they understand, like how ugly the structural adjustment programs were in the 90s. So now they're doing this secretly. They're telling them, okay, if you want, for you to get this loan, give us a guarantee that you can collect X amount of taxes. Just like when a bank is giving you a loan, you kind of have to prove your sources of income. So now, by passing this, they can take it back to the IMF and tell them, look, this is our new source of income, give us a new loan. And then they get the loan. And this cycle will end forever.
It will.
And it will not end well.
If you guys, I want you to guys to go research or read about Mozambique, when the sovereign decided to take a stand and said,
Yep.
nonsense, we are not doing this, and they sued the government.
Yes.
And the government sided with the sovereign. Until then, tusiposimama, ikitu wali, wacha nikwambie,
tutakaliwa.
Ikitu itapass 2024.
Aya.
Hii bill inapita.
Aya.
You know, interestingly enough, we are talking about this car, the car thing. The insurance, what are they called? I'll tell you what they're called here. The Insurance Association of Kenya, I think they're called Association of Kenya Insurance or something like that, have asked, they wrote and said they don't want this thing. They themselves have written and said, first of all, what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to switch to third party insurance, instead of, which basically covers when you hit someone else's vehicle, but not the vehicle of the person who is basically insured. So it covers the other party's vehicle, right? Because folks are trying to lower what they'll end up paying. But it also would then now mean that if their vehicle then now gets damaged, then they also now are being, because they were heparing the taxes, they went for a lower insurance cover, which now has ended up harming them, right? It also means that the insurance industry themselves are also going to lose money, because people are going to go to, they call it, is it third party? That's what they call
Third
insurance,
party,
right?
that's what they
Yes.
call it, yeah.
A lot of folks are going to switch from, like the, I guess, full cover to third party insurance. And that means overall, the insurance industry is also going to lose money. So they actually wrote a letter. They wrote a letter today. Ali, had you seen that letter?
No, I've not seen it.
This is a letter. Insurers urge the National Assembly to discard the proposed motor circulation tax outlined in the Finance Bill 2024, and it's dated 17th May. They're basically called the Association of Kenya Insurers. So they said there's going to be a shift to third-party coverage. They say they do acknowledge the necessity of expanding the tax revenue to meet the demands of a growing economy. They advocate for a focus on creating an environment conducive to business growth. By doing so, increased tax collection can be achieved substantially and more sustainably. This necessitates ongoing collaboration with all stakeholders to ensure the creation of a robust and thriving business ecosystem. Now, imagine the chaps who are being told, you go ahead and collect on our behalf, are like, apana. This is, it's not going to nini. And what, here's something they said, So the finance bill has introduced a motor circulation set to set tax set of 2%, 2.5%. They said up to capped at a maximum of 100,000. The imposition will notably increase the cost of motor insurance. Currently, the average comprehensive insurance premium rate stands at 5%, and with the additional 2.5%, the total premium rate is going to surge to 7.5%, which means somebody would get away from comprehensive and roll back to the third party. And sasa hapa kwa third party, you're going to have more losses because of the damage that's incurred to the insured, and they would then now put their cars to the side. So they're not going to drive, because guess what? They can't afford to repair their cars. They've repaired the other person's vehicle, but they cannot afford to repair this car of theirs, because they were going away from 5%, from 7.5% potentially, when they had comprehensive cover, to something that was more conducive, that they could still afford, or their pocket was going to be able to handle.
Plus, you've also not included the additional compliance costs, because this is additional paperwork.
Correct.
For insurance companies.
Correct.
Yeah.
And again, so basically they're saying that this is going to potentially burden motorists with significant out-of-pocket expenses for repairs or replacement.
Yeah.
That's something that you're looking at. And I can see Kenyans saying, enyewe hapa.
No, of course.
I'm dropping comprehensive. I'm going with third party.
Of course. It's
and since I'm covering that guy's moti, me, my car, ata ikigongwa aje,
yeah, it's the Laffer curve.
Yes.
Like you increase prices at some point.
I'll deal with my car.
Some people will drop off.
Yes.
And some people will get the cheaper insurance.
Correct.
So that's going to even create, like more issues on the road of a lot of drivers who it's going to be a cost to the insurance company now.
And sometimes, Ali, as sad as this may be, that brown envelope will get passed. People get that sticker. The sticker is put there on the moti. It's not an actual insurance that's valid.
Yes, now that will start happening.
So if you are paying for that cover, I don't know, maybe 5K, right, for your vehicle that is no longer hapo kwa hizo 100,000, then now you're being told you ongeza akaka 2.5% on top, right? That means you are gonna go up, maybe you go 6K or 6.5 or something like that. So here I don't see how this is gonna happen. You go, you find a chap in the insurance company, you tell him, boss, niaje. Says, okay, me, I'll produce this thing for you. Lakini if you're found, ni wewe na Mungu wa?
Uko peke yako.
Wewe na Mungu wako.
Yeah. And now the diasporans who own V8s back home, it's 100K a year.
You
100K a year. No, what diaspora? There's diasporans here who own vehicles back home.
Oh.
Who own vehicles in Kenya.
Oh.
Let alone rental properties. Rental properties.
Boss, sasa kwanza hiyo ya rental properties.
Yeah. No, rental properties, that one has always been
rental
there.
properties has always been there.
Yeah.
But the
enforcement has been recent.
Enforcement
is recent.
No, what you do is sasa unapiga tu, the instructions at the gate remain the same. Mtu ambaye akai hapa ingi, period. Na kama hana cheti ya kutoka sijui nini pia ya ingi. Na hata kama konayo haingi juu hapa si kwake.
Yeah. Anyway, kwa vile we are running out of time, Omosh Fire, this weekend, or maybe by Monday, the president will be in the United States.
Yes.
What do we expect? Where is he going? For those who want to see the president, where can they go?
In Hotranta, all that schmack.
So the president lands in the country on the 20th, and he's going to be here for a week. He lands in Atlanta, and while he's in Atlanta, he's going to meet Kenyans. He's going to meet folks who are in business. There's some people who there's some business, some companies, Kenyan companies that are now operating stores in Atlanta. So one of them is Vivo. So he's supposed to go to, I think, the Vivo store as well, which is in Atlantic Station. Folks of Atlanta, if you know Atlanta, then you know where Atlantic Station is. Then there's supposed to be I don't know if it's a town hall, a meet and greet, something similar, with Kenyans in the evening. I think it's either in the evening or from I think like 4 p.m. up, or between 4 and 7 or something like that. supposed to be at Cobb, I think Cobb Galleria or something like that. But if you do want to know more information on how you can register for this event or RSVP for this event, I think they have the information on the Kenyan Embassy site. I think they do have the information on the Kenya Embassy site. Maybe Ali, you can check for me or something like that. Then as well, throughout the week, or at least a time frame when he's in Atlanta, he's going to meet with creatives. He's going to tour the, I think, Tyler Perry Studios. Supposed to meet with, by creatives, it's, folks who are artists as well as maybe music, people who are in music, people who are in film, business. He's also supposed to be meeting with business folks. So Kenyans who are doing business in America, or Kenyans who are here in the diaspora who are running businesses, successful businesses. There's actually a Kenyan guy who for years has been running he's got a huge dealership. And it's been years. By years, I'm saying a minimum of 10 years. This guy's been having like
a car dealership.
Yes. Car dealerships.
Okay.
I think he rested.
Did he?
Yeah. Karango.
Yes, I think that's yes. So, but didn't the family continue with it or something?
I think they continue.
Yeah, but I mean, that's an example of one. I think you're right. That's an example of one person who's been in business or has a business presence in Atlanta area and has been for a while, right? And there's other guys who have been doing business in Atlanta for a long time. Just Chiniamaji doing their thing. I don't want to. I was gonna put that guy out there, but I'm not gonna do that. But there's a bunch of folks in Atlanta, and some of these people would be the people who potentially would be meeting with the president. And I think the thought behind it is more of investment, trying to figure out, okay, what does it take for you are already in business, you're in the diaspora, what is it going to take for you to come back and invest in Kenya, bring money home? Because I guess the whole point is to get foreign dollars, quote unquote, to move, to shift back home, and possibly maybe even interrogate some of these folks on what is it that we can change to make things easier. And I think overall the whole point is to find a way to get the diaspora to be more involved at a personal level with the economy back home, whether it's doing investments, maguta, whether it's, whatever it is. Yes, and I think that the whole diaspora desk is supposed to be more visible during this trip and with getting in touch with folks. So I would recommend for a lot of people, if you're in the Atlanta area, probably see a way you can go to those events, or at least the ones that you can get to, ask questions, get information, network. You never know. Even there might be even job opportunities, because there's a whole, this is a state visit, so there's a whole entourage. And then at some point they would come to DC. Then now when they come to DC is where you have what I would call the meat and potatoes.
Okay.
So that's now when he's actually going to be dealing with government officials, Joe Biden. There'll be breakout sessions with the different portfolios, with health. I know with health there's supposed to be a meet and greet breakfast with healthcare or health people in health who are in the health professional field are supposed to be meeting with the CS of health. But I don't know particulars of how one who say, if I have my own business like Babahanya and I want to meet with the CS of health to maybe facilitate for me to open up a similar thing. Maybe I want to bring get nurses from Kenya and bring them over here, and vice versa. What is it that we can do, and how would the Ministry of Health facilitate with something like that? Because we probably have excess nurses, not enough jobs for them. We can bring them out here, quote unquote, right? So there's whole breakout sessions. Now we don't have particular information of, let's say, go to person X and get this information. As far as we know, the number one person that we would always recommend for folks to go to is go to the embassy, look at the embassy website, see what they have in there, whether it's registration for something, whether it's registration for these breakout sessions, and you pray and hope that you can get in. Unfortunately, because of timing, I would say if you are not on a list somewhere, I don't think, quote unquote, you're getting in.
But how would you even know what list to be on?
Okay, so like for instance, let's say I'm an IT guy, right? It would probably, and maybe I want to do something with IT or what they call ICT, right? We do have ICT folks, right? And they are going to be having breakout sessions because there's folks who are going to come here. Maybe there's a whole plethora of guys who've just graduated. You want to place them in Google. You want to place them wherever it is. Or you also want these guys to work remotely from Kenya and do contracts, do certain sorts of things, right? There's all sorts of things that are available. And it's not that it's not available. It's not like it's not there. But part of my feel is that part of the problem that we are having is, again, back to this tax thing. That the tax stuff that is being done is so punitive to the point that if I am an American company, I am not going to go out and get guys in Kenya to do my work, yet I can get it done for me in India at half the price with less tax ramifications.
No, totally.
So and so this thing of quote unquote like double taxation, let's say you pay tax through your mother company, then you're still paying to Kenya. That sometimes can push out, the multinationals, and if you're pushing out the multinationals, they're the ones who have the money. Who are you leaving behind? So
but they're already doing that by chasing out the guys of EVs.
Again, I'm
with you. I'm with you.
So all I'm saying is that if you're, there's some folks who have brilliant ideas, but it would behoove them, maybe if you're in Atlanta, if you're an Atlanta person,
but Omosh also
show up at that thing in the evening,
no,
and
Omosh,
maybe there'll be somebody there.
Here's the problem also.
Yeah.
Communication.
Okay. We have had communication issues since day one. And when I say I say we've had communication issues.
So that's the problem.
When I say that us as diaspora, information that comes to you almost like trickle down. It trickles, and if you don't know somebody, you're not getting
and that's the problem.
It should not be that way.
And that's the problem. That's the problem.
Correct. Because we are giving information here, but we don't even have if we had somebody say go to email X, I can't tell anyone to go to email X.
Tomorrow morning, if you wake up, all media houses probably have Biden's schedule for the day. Every day.
Correct.
And probably if he's gonna go to the EU, whatever, you already have it. It was not until the other day we got sort of a schedule of how things are going to be.
And even that schedule, where did that schedule
how
come
did you
from?
get that schedule? It wasn't given to you.
It wasn't.
No, that schedule, we got it from our molds.
Our molds inside.
Yeah.
So again,
so I mean,
what is so secretive about it?
Yeah,
So again, because you're talking about President Biden, leader of the free world, whatever. Huyo mse schedule yake inajulikana.
Actually, yes. So
hapa
there is a link on the Kenya embassy.
When did it just come up?
No, the link is for RSVP.
It's for RSVP.
No, this is done for the engagement. This is new. I don't remember. Had you seen this?
No,
no.
I'm seeing it now.
And actually, you know what? I give props. There's a time Udi sent me a text. He actually said, by the way, the guy is coming to Atlanta. It's official on the Kenyan embassy website. I'm like, what do you mean? Cheki.
Yes.
Do you know how he found it? He was going to look up or apply, I think, for visas.
Yes.
To apply for a visa, to get information on visa. That's how he's like, so it's official. It's on the website. Because prior to that, it wasn't there.
Yeah, and there was a flyer that was going around that looked very suspect. You're like, what the heck is this?
Again,
and
what is like,
I personally wish them all the best. I'm glad Omosh is gonna be our representative in
Umetoboa siri.
in all those events.
I will
Siri.
try. So actually,
Yeah.
from what they're saying here, and I had seen this stuff, but I was like, So they say there's actually an expo, is what they're calling it. It's a Diaspora Tech Investment Expo on Monday.
So
on
now,
the 20th of May.
let's say this thing has come out today. Yeah?
So I
If
think
there are
that-
people who are in IT, let's say for example, if Ali had an IT company, no, not unless IT is not unless Ali is in the know or is in the who's who,
Yeah.
ama anajua watu, then he can organize. But if let's say for example, if you're not in the know, but you have an IT company, you're doing data, you're doing health, or you are cybersecurity pertaining to data and data privacy and stuff, and you're being told today, surely.
And this is something that we told.
So we told folks.
we told
we
IBC. Kenya has
Yeah.
known about this trip for a very long time.
We've known
It's
We've known
it's-
about
it's
it
been
for
over,
a very long
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It's
at
been over
least-
6 months.
Yeah.
It's
and then
been over 6
it's
months.
funny how they say this is the first guy to be given a state dinner this year. Biden has done only 6.
Yeah, 5 or 6.
No, 5, 6 in
This
his,
is
in
number
his term.
6.
In his
Yeah,
term.
in
In
his
his
term.
term.
Yeah.
In his term.
Mm-hmm.
In his term,
wow.
he's only done.
He's only done
6
5, so this is number
this-
6.
6 state dinners.
Yeah.
6. But now all of a sudden we are being told,
And now you see,
fala.
yeah, and that's the reason why. I mean, it's good, for me personally. Let me just say at a personal level, because I mean, people may assume it's because of my political position. I'm happy I'm not gonna be in any of those events. I'm very happy because my experience with these diaspora events is that they're very one-sided. Like you go and then it's a speech, it's them talking down to you and telling you guys what you need. They're not interested in knowing about you. Now, this, of course, is a state dinner. This one is going to be more choreographed, especially when it comes to DC. But I think we are nuisance. We are not their priority.
But also
here.
remember, because I was listening to, I think it was NPR. Already the people who are supposed to participate by invite, wameshapewa invite.
Oh yeah.
ya
Of course.
huku.
Of course. Yes.
DMV
Now,
for
okay.
the state dinner.
So now, yes, you're right. For the state dinner, there was also a reception that's at the South Lawn, which I think we discussed this last week, right? That there was a link on the Kenyan embassy site where you could go and register,
Yeah.
so that you could be part of the people who were receiving or the president in the South Lawn. And I was like, huh? There was? So I went and actually saw the link, and I clicked on the link. There's like, there's nothing. You're Amanda.
This link is like
Yeah, it
the
disappeared.
public participation.
No,
Yeah.
but it
just
was
there.
It's just
wait
there
a minute.
to check
How
a
about
box.
this thing was there from April 24th? Again, the whole point of it. No, it was there. If you
The
think
link was there, but
it
was
was
the link
there,
valid?
but it was okay. Wait a minute.
Was
Look,
the
it
link
was
valid?
a link that was there, but you didn't know it was a link because it just said information. What did it say? I think the header said something like information on upcoming president's trip. Then when you go there, that's when you see, you can participate, and if you want to participate in the thing, click here and register. And then I guess maybe they pick you from a lottery system. Maybe they, I don't know, kama kuna manjungu, they shake and they say, okay, one mic, huyu ataongea matope, Z. Okay, let me pick Ali Z. Huyu, so again, there's different things, but I know this one, at least for where what normally we would do in DC, it seems like they're doing in Atlanta, but more targeted with different things. And it almost seems like when I'm looking at this and they're talking about it as a tech expo, it almost reminds me of the Diaspora.
The Diaspora conference.
That to me, it seems like. But this is all, again, this is tech. To me, it seems like it's geared towards tech and investment from a tech perspective. And I think the driving force being that the Kenyan ambassador the U.S. ambassador to Kenya is from a tech background. I think that may have probably
She's trying to find business for American tech companies in Kenya.
And it makes
Like,
sense.
yeah.
I mean, she was
makes
she was
sense
at
for her.
eBay. She was an HP. You know, she's a
I
former
don't have a
eBay,
problem with
former
that.
HP. So you know, again, hey, Google's
Mama
gonna
ni
cool her. Yeah,
kujiposition,
Google will
yes.
cool her from there. Facebook will cool her from there. So you never know. There might be folks who are there. So hata kama ni job unatafuta, mimi ningeenda huko nitafute tu job. See ati unaenda. But anyway, you didn't hear it from me. But I'm just saying that these are some of the engagements that are going to be there. Then at some point, there's supposed to be a panel discussion with President Ruto. Now you can go online and you can just enter your name, your phone number, email, and if you have questions, you can also enter the questions and your suggestions and remarks. And it's there on the website for the Kenya
but to me, the
embassy.
big thing, because one of the personal reasons I'm not attending even anything that's in DC is mnajua sisi watu wa kuvaa hii kitu, we're not going anywhere close to the White House. I mean, this thing is so serious.
This one is
we are not going anywhere close to the White House. If I had an opportunity, the one thing that I would want is to get those poisonous Israel clauses out of that US-Kenya free trade agreement. I think Pablo has read it. Pablo has seen them. Those are very poisonous clauses, especially right now with what's happening in the world. Those are things that need to be taken out of that trade agreement, because that has nothing to do with trade between Kenya and the US.
We should interrogate that.
So yeah. So to me, that's the one thing that I would want to interrogate. You know, why are you allowing the US to insert clauses about Kenya, you know, like always supporting Israel, you know, like on matters BDS, on matters in the UN, and just other things that have nothing to do with with trade. I wish the president all the best, and the people who you know, like, will attend all the best. The problem that I have sometimes with our diaspora people, I'm sure we'll see a lot of pictures. We'll see a lot of what do you call it, selfies. So we'll see a lot of people who are out there to make a name, but I doubt if there's anyone who's out there looking at the impact that this can have. I just doubt it. And I'm going by experience.
And here you're
previous
talking about the
events.
trade agreement, right? Or you're talking about
No, I'm
everything
just talking about everything.
Okay.
I'm just talking about everything. You know, I mean, the trade agreement, of course, is big. Here's the other problem, Omosh. I'll tell you, 90% of those people who are attending, they don't even know that there is an existing negotiation of a trade agreement between the US and Kenya. They don't know.
That's true.
They don't know. And I mean, I'm not blaming them for not knowing, but here's where, you know, like, if we're looking to have impact, we should have done our homework. One of the big things I would have liked to have seen in that trade agreement, because America is adding poisonous clauses, why can't Kenya also say, we want 10-year visas for Kenyans who are coming to the US?
Correct.
The Rwandese are getting 10-year visas to come to the US. So these are discussions that I'm completely not hearing, which is why I'm saying this is gonna be a very successful event for America. It's gonna be a very successful event for America.
Yeah.
But for Kenya, I mean, I think the president will get the publicity he wants. People will get per diems. But is it gonna have any special impact on on our people in the diaspora? You know, like, I highly doubt.
To be honest, I don't. You know, to be honest, I don't know if the diaspora, if there's anything in there, quote unquote, for the diaspora,
No.
other than I would say at this point, looking at what we are from where we sit, it looks like optics. But
It's
I don't.
optics,
But I
yes.
don't know if there's anything in there specifically that says, okay, this is for the diaspora. Where ata ungesema, I just don't know if there's anything in there specifically for the diaspora. I can see where, you know, like, there's always so when these guys sit down and meet, right? The president comes with his list of things. First lady pia nakuja na vitu zake.
Yeah.
Si ndio? Hopefully first lady akikuja na aulize, ambiwe, okay, wewe unataka kitu gani? Aseme pengine aende vitu kama hizi stories za maternal, improving NICUs, to me, those are things I see as, say, vitu za wanawake and education for me. And maybe even literally to the point where, because there was a time when Kenyans used to come to the US a lot to go to
For school, yeah.
right? So why don't we?
But hizo visa zilikwama.
But
yeah.
Amosh, they're planning.
Okay, okay. We are past that stage. We are at the stage where it's here, right? So I'm just saying that the asks that, let's say the asks that the first lady would have when she sits down and she's told, okay, Sasa, what's your wish list? You know what I'm saying? To me, I would think that you'd want to find some way of because right now, can you tell me something that the first lady stands for? That's a program that she stood for. Because I mean, with Margaret Kenyatta, we knew what she stood for. Kale Kaziros, what was it? The clinics and all of that, right? Sindio?
Prayers.
Now, Pablo is saying, is telling me, Ali Badawi, please show up. I'm sure there will be people similarly dressed and maybe seeking to be heard through demonstrations. And if you get an opportunity, speak up. Huku sio Kenya where tear gas itarushwa bure. Our issue is not tear gas, like we're, for me personally, like, and for what I represent, we're not looking to make a name. We're looking for impact. Like out there, like if I go, like with maybe with my scarf, yes, maybe I'll make a name, maybe I'll stand out in the crowd, but what exactly am I doing there? Like what impact will that have? So for me, because this
Tell
thing,
Pablo we have seen guys we know kicked out.
Yes, absolutely. We've seen guys we know kicked out. So to me, like this is a mini Super Bowl. This is a mini Super Bowl for RUTO and his team. I don't want to be a party pooper, so I don't want to ruin the party. I don't want to ruin the selfies. I don't want to ruin the vitenges. I don't want to ruin, so people can go there. But I think, the only thing that I'm asking people is when you go there, like, this is America. Tuacheni mambo ya, oh yeah, we are here, selfies. We bought dresses and we bought suits to come here. You have to be asking yourself, what exactly am I going to do here? Like what impact are we looking for? And that to me is the saddest part, because a lot of the people who've contacted me, like in terms of, oh, Ali unakuja nini, most of them, they're not even abreast with the issues. And that's a problem.
But this is supposed to be about Kenya, not about the president. I don't know if it's making sense.
But the guy who's
because this is supposed to be about Kenya, correct?
Yeah, but the person who's in charge of Kenya is the one who is coming.
No.
So your concern,
I understand he's the one who is coming, but what I'm trying to say is that the big picture of this, not the picture that we see, the big picture of this is Kenya and the impact on Kenya. Are you understanding what I'm saying?
That's right.
I get what you're saying.
I get what your point, Omosh, but you see,
that's what it's supposed to be. Now, whether it ends up being that.
Now, you see, with the American side, they know exactly what they're looking for, and they will most likely achieve it. With Kenya, we are kind of like all over the place. We are still asking ourselves questions. Like even you as an American, you can go, just go to the website and you'll figure out exactly why they're doing this, what they want to achieve as Americans. But with Kenya, with these things coming up very last minute, that people didn't even know that this is where the president will be going, this is what he'll be doing. It's kind of like we're just going by good vibes. We're just going by good vibes and seeing what will come out of it.
Good food.
Yeah. and you see, at the end of the day, America, whenever they want something from you, they will pamper you. There is a reason why President RUTO got a shout out in a Biden speech at the UN. He doesn't just normally shout out anyone. There's a reason why he's one of 6 getting a state invite. There is something that America is looking for. When America wants something from you, they will pamper you to death to the point where, and they will have something on you to the point where now when you may fika your time, now, you have to give us this. This is what we want. and you will have no choice. And unfortunately, I feel like President Ruto has put too much of his eggs in one basket. I hope it turns out well, but this doesn't look good. And I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it to kill the mood. No,
prophet of doom.
No, I'm not saying it to kill the mood of people who've bought vitenges and who've bought suits and everything. But
I don't know.
To me,
you better not.
This just doesn't. It just doesn't look good. There's other things that like there's other issues like the Kenyan police going to Haiti. I know that's the last thing on the mind, and I know it's a process that.
And by the way, people have even forgotten that.
Yeah, people have forgotten that. Yeah, nobody's out here.
The issue, and we all want what is good for Kenya, but boss, we don't even have to go far. Let's look at the finance bill. Let's look at what has been happening. Let's look at the taxes. Because all these are directly affecting us.
Correct.
We are being affected directly because we've got loved ones. Our mothers are there. Okay, there's the shift. There's, at one point, you're trying to understand what is the movement from NHIF to shift. Why not just restructure, or do something to NHIF?
Nah, you have to put your stamp on it.
Okay, again, and that's the problem. Because there's a need and there's a want and there's a whatever to leave a legacy. But unfortunately, here's the thing: you're trying to leave a legacy. Kibaki had his legacy. That one is in as much as he did what he did, Imadhogodhanyo or whatever, 92, Alifa. People always remember what? The economy, the boom. UK has got his own legacy. Here you're trying to force your legacy is going to be what? Taxation,
tax collection.
That is it.
I have a question for you guys.
Here, go ahead.
Do you think we're gonna see new currency that has his face on it?
No. First of all, East Africa. East Africa is supposed to be having a common currency. These are some of those geopolitical issues that I think people should know that people don't. We are transitioning to a new currency. A lot of people don't know that. We Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania.
Yeah.
But
it seems like there's always kuna watu wanavutana.
I'll say this. Would I be surprised? No.
Would I be surprised? No.
Because
think
about it, UK didn't.
Because when you look when you read
UK
the bill,
he didn't switch. It stayed just M1 and
when you read the bill, there are certain things that certain amendments or certain whatever you want to call it that are supposed to align themselves with agreements with the East African. Like now, for example, I think importation of stuff.
So
there's a lot.
So the trade agreement is gonna be in conflict with the East African Community Protocol. It's also gonna be in conflict with the AU. It's called the African Free Continental Trade Agreement. Because the general idea, because now what Kenya is doing, now when we look at it from a regional perspective, Kenya ni kama they've been isolated. We're trying to see how we could be negotiating for trade as a block, but Kenya wameitwa kando akaambiwa hapana, njoo hapa tutakupatia kakitu. So that's what's happening, because
and we don't qualify under AGOA. See, AGOA in Asia this year.
AGOA expires
2020.
It expires in 2025. But then there's a possibility
it's going to be extended.
There's a possibility it might be extended. We don't know. And here are my thoughts. This particular trade agreement, Biden is going to use it as a carrot to RUTO. If the trade agreement gets signed, of course it cannot get signed because it's not gone through the respective parliaments.
It has to go
and
through
Congress.
the different sides. Yes.
So my thinking is
we're in Kenya or here.
Both a trade
agreement. Kenya imepita.
But Kenyan guys remember cried, right?
Bro.
So
Kenya imepita.
So let's pay attention. Biden will use this as a carrot. Remember, should President Biden win this election, he's gonna be president until 2028. Should he win, he'll be president until 2028. guess what he has between now and 2028. Kenya's election will be in 2027. He has no incentive to give President Ruto that deal right now. He will go now dangle it. He will delay it, dangle it when Ruto is very desperate to show Kenyans that I'm getting you something. So Biden will wait until 2027. By waiting, they will make sure they've gotten all little crazy things that they want to add on that deal. I'm not a prophet, but let's wait and see. This thing, the earliest that anything will happen is 2027. And if Americans don't get what they want, this thing will be botched. It will not even be signed. Itakwisha. But anyway, for those who want to attend, nendeni mkajibambe. Get the vitenges, get the suits, but at least educate yourself kidogo on some of the geopolitical matters, some of the issues that matter to the diaspora. Don't just go there for selfies. Because that's the reason why these politicians, especially from Kenya, they don't take us seriously. Because wamejua sini watu wa selfie. You know, as long as mtu amepata selfie na president, hata complain. As long as mtu amepata amealikwa sijui dina wapi, and that's the problem that we have. Uno Mike.
Wahenga walinena kilicho na mwanzo hakina budi kuwa na mwisho. Meli imetia nanga. We are about to wrap this puppy up. Omosh fire, Omosh kadhe jagadi. Our representative.
Wow.
Boda boss.
Yani nimetukanwa, nimeitwa na nikapigwa kofi.
Butua.
Anyway, it's okay. Asanteni watazamaji, my fans, my peoples. Thank you again, once again, for staying with us. I know we've gone over kidogo, but we felt like we needed to let you guys know what's going on. We try, strive as much as possible to give you guys as much information as we can. And also as soon as we get the information. With that said, like Uno has said, I'm gonna be in Atlanta, and I may attend the tech. I had not planned to attend the thing, and now it's when I'm seeing it's a whole day session. Actually, I didn't realize it was actually a whole day session, even though I'd seen some stuff, but I didn't realize it was a whole day tech session, which would have been nice. But I'm not taking 2 days off of work because bills need to be paid. But with that said, I'll try as much as possible to go maybe to the evening thing, and we'll see what happens, or at least I guess it's supposed to be a breakout session. We'll see. I'll register for it. Never know. Maybe next end, maybe CND. But after my experience, next week, I'll come on the show. Well, next week we're not. Actually, next week we're not on the show.
Yeah, next week is Memorial Weekend.
Yes, we're not on the show next week. So the next weekend after that, I will come back, and I guess by some point we'll have had lessons learned, and we'll have some information to give to our peoples and so on and so forth. But me, I would encourage folks, like Ali said, go for the thing. It's not about the selfies. Go for the thing. And remember, you want to make sure that the diaspora and whatever issues and things and needs that we have are being addressed or looked. Even if you don't go, you can always go to the site and you can register and ask questions. There's still time. They should get to him, and hopefully he's gonna answer them, or at least they know, because we have to agitate. I was being asked by somebody, and I don't know if you guys have been asked, why we Kenyans are not agitating and protesting or saying something about what it is that we want and how we want things done, especially being that we have the president who's coming. We as folks in diaspora, we know what the issues are, but it's like we're not rallying around anything. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I was told? I was told, like, if it was the Nigerians and it was their president who was coming, by now wangekuwa kipiga kelele, they would be lining up and saying, putting all their issues out there, so that, the folks in the White House know, and so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? So it's not only that you're making noise for your gava who are coming, but also for the folks who are hosting them. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think at some point we have to take this bull by the horns, because if we don't take the bull by the horns, ni watoto wetu ambaye watakuwa na mahali pa kwenda kabisa. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
So with that said, I'll see you guys after what is that? What's this holiday that's coming?
Memorial.
After
Memorial
Memorial.
weekend.
Yeah, I'll be back in town. Hopefully, you never know. And wish you guys well. Wish all our peeps well, and remember to always hug your peoples. Reach out to them. Just we are losing a lot of people through road carnage and things that are very, very, very avoidable. There is no reason why in this day and age somebody would run into a car that is stopped on a highway or a lorry that's stopped on the highway and that you can't see and there's no identification on it. That shouldn't be happening. But that's what happens to us every single day. And I speak like that because of a loss that should never, ever have happened. But it has happened. So anyway, with those few remarks, I hand over back to you. Uno, facilitate.
Thank you so much, DJ Omosh Fire. Like Omosh has kind of summarized everything. The only one thing that I'll remind you is if you're going to any of the president meetups, have something in mind. Don't just go there for pictures. Nowadays, kuna Photoshop. If you want pictures, you can go Photoshop yourself with a guy. Like Omosh said, if it was another country, maybe like Nigerians, they would already be lined up and they would know, exactly, what they're going to ask for, what they're going to look for. But I think with all the Kenyans who are going, ni furaha tu, ni sherehe, ni kuenjoy. So I don't know, I'll be happy to be proved wrong. Now, another thing, there was a comment here that came from Esther saying that there's an issue about Kenyans going to Haiti. And a part of the president's itinerary is going to be going to the Department of Defense. You ask yourself what exactly a president is going to do at the Department of Defense. There's so much that's going on that one day will come to light. Na kwa hayo machache, yeyote ambaye anataka kunipigia simu, nambari yangu ni ile 1-800 mteule. Operator akishika simu, mwambie unataka kusema na mjukuu, na akikuuliza ni mjukuu yupi, mkumbushe ni mjukuu yule wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui na sibagui. Kwaherini.
Aiden, Daddy loves you. And congratulations on finishing exams. Jerry, Daddy loves you. Pole sana ulivunjaka mkono. Nimo, happy birthday, mommy. Daddy loves you. Until the 31st, inshallah, be blessed.